All right. Boop, 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 boop. We're streaming. I'm starting early again today because I'm basically just sitting here, just like last time. I'm just kind of sitting here, waiting. So I thought to myself, what the heckles? Let's just get the stream started, see what happens. It was a success last time, so hey, what the heck? The I'm finally getting back to open mic nights. I went last night, had a wonderful, wonderful time, met some wonderful, wonderful people. Hopefully made some wonderful, wonderful connections. Well, Austin Inn starting early again. Yeah, seems to be the case, dude. Like, I'm literally just sitting here, right? Like, I've got everything set up. I'm ready to go. I'm just kind of like tooling around on my guitar, you know? And so, you know what? What the heckles? Huh? 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 Are you complaining about it, Austin? Would you like to put in a formal complaint? You're like, one time I can accept, Jonathan, but twice? Twice is too much. I can't handle it. Right? So, I'm actually in like I'm in a remarkably good mood. Yeah, I'm in a remarkably good mood. Like, I made some new music this last week. I don't think I'm ready to present it. Austin says, "Did you get the new camera? Video quality is crisp. No, not complaining, just pleasantly surprised." That's nice. I haven't got that new camera yet. I'm going to. It's coming. I'm like financially like right in between poles right now, right? Like it's just I spent. I'll tell you the whole story. My dad said to me, "John, I'm going to give you money for your birthday and for Christmas." Long past. And I said, "Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you, Dad." And so I went and purchased a remarkable pad. It was a bit of a splurge, I know. If you don't know what a remarkable pad is, just think of like a digital notebook. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm in love with this thing. I'm so happy I have it. And because I splurged on that a little bit, right? So I haven't got that money yet. I spent money of my own. So I'm kind of in this moment of like waiting for things to even out. And they will. And then once that happens, I'll just be like, "Okay, cool. Camera." Right? So I'm just in this like little smoky period, and it'll even itself out, and everything will be fine, and the world will crystallize and become a beautiful place. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the video. Like people keep saying like the video quality looks so much better, John. It's like maybe I look better. Maybe I've just become more handsome. New CIA drone pilot over on Twitch. John, what can we at the CIA do without our precious front organizations at the NED and USAID? I guess we'll have to double down on the drug trafficking. So sad. Yep, sad day indeed. Sad day indeed as Elon Musk goes on in to the Treasury system, goes into USAID, being described as a coup, right? I don't know that Musk is smart enough to pull off a coup. Like, it's certainly a disaster, right? Like I think that's really the whole thing about this entire administration, is that it's just going to be one absolute catastrophic disaster after the next. And that I'm seeing a lot of people discuss these guys as if there's forethought put into what they're doing. And I really think there isn't. I really think that there's just like a seething emotion. Just like that they're really being pulled along by just these seething, roiling, boiling emotions. And it's not difficult for me to see Elon Musk in a ketamine-fueled fugue while on like griping on Twitter or something, and some of the little Nazis that he talks to on Twitter for some reason are like you could just go to the Treasury, bro. Like who's gonna step in and get in the way of you if you go into the Treasury? Yuan Buchanan, Omnicidal Tendencies. Good to see you guys, as always. God bless you for being here. I know, I just told a story about the camera. It's coming. I promise. I swear to God. I promise. I swear to you. One day you're gonna tune in and you're gonna see a crisp, clear vision of me, and then you're gonna think, ugh. And then you'll set your settings back to 480. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, you guys really need to see me in like 1080, right? Like that's gonna really crystallize things for you. Everything's gonna be so much better then. The show's really gonna pick up then. And it's just not difficult for me to perceive that while in this sort of ketamine fugue, he reaches out, sends out some emails to these kids, right? Who it's probably their idea, right? Like, look at these kids. These are the kids that helped him do it. The oldest one is 25. So, like, these are the stupidest people you've ever met, right? Like, they're just kids. They don't know shit. They don't know nothing. They're basically fresh out of university, if out of university at all. One of them, I think, is a dropout. I think this one over here is literally just a dropout. And yeah, this kid's only 19. So like straight up, he's grabbing like students, right? And it's not hard to find like these like libertarian minded like children who think that like, yeah, everybody just do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want and it'll all even out. There's no consequences for that. We don't need to have a thing like society, and all institutional power is bad. Bedtimes are a crime, right? Like the bedtimes are evil crowd, right? That's who these people are. Jeff, good to see you. Anemone, always a pleasure. Anemone writes, maybe put a notification in the Discord you starting stream. Yeah, you know what, Anemone, you're right. I will. You're right. Because I did start early. And I know, Anemone, you wait all week to see my beautiful face. Really. Well, really, you're here so that we can talk about... Let's be honest, Anemone. Let's be honest. Quick Luigi Mangione update. There's lots of experts saying this kid could just walk. There's lots of experts that are just like, yeah, the way that they're going at this case and the evidence that they seem to have, it just seems like this kid's going to walk. Like, it's not a crime to have a gun in America. In fact, the police will stop you on the street, and if you don't have a gun, they give you one. That's how it works in America. So, Content, good to see you. In future, Anemone, I will. I put a notification in the Discord. You're right. That's something I should have always been doing in the first place. So these are the 6 kids that helped Elon with his stupid little coup. Now, it is going to be a disaster no matter what, right? People on the right are actually trying to play this as if it's like they're going after the CIA, right? Like they're going after intelligence. Like USAID is a CIA cutout, right? It's a method by which the CIA extends itself through soft power into the world. And so people are sort of cosplaying and pretending like what Elon Musk is doing is going in there to disrupt those operations. Probably not, right? Like, Elon Musk is self-interested. He cares about himself and nothing else. He doesn't care about, like, a legacy. He doesn't care about the future of America, right? Institutional power, right? Like, he genuinely does not care about any of that. And so if he's doing something, he's doing it for his own interests exclusively and only. And he's just duping a bunch of children, right? Who are going to regret what they've done, right? Like, I think about myself when I was like 25, right? Like 19 to 25. Yeah, nah, brah. Like, it's really easy for me to perceive that there's these like starry-eyed, oh my God, it's Elon Musk, Mars Man, Musk Daddy, right? The type of people that would read a Jordan Peterson book and be like entranced and like entrenched in like this like gotta grind set, right? Just money up, right? And like, you're at 19, like you're basically like fresh out of your house. You're as impressionable as it gets. And here's this richest man in the world standing right in front of you, basically being like, we are the Department of Government Efficiency is calling on you to help go in to the Treasury, and we are going to cut inappropriate spending from the budget, and with your help as an American, you will do that. And it's just gonna be robbery. Like, it's just gonna be a heist. Like, it's not hard to connect these dots. Donald Trump is doing yet another tax cut for the rich, right? Dropping taxes for the rich even further. So, you know, if they're paying like 5% tax, now they're going to spend 2%, right? Because they're almost paying nothing as it is. Like, someone like Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any taxes in the first place. He's literally just banking on Trump to kind of keep it that way. And so they're lowering the taxes and they're lowering the taxes, and then also through the process of subsidies, right? And so now they're looking around for where to funnel out more money, right? And so, yeah, Peanut Butter Beatrice, I work for the VHA, I'm getting terrified, right? Isaac says cut off food stamps, right? The Medicaid question, because this is directly tied to Medicaid. And it's pretty clear that these people are vampirish ghouls, right? Like, Brian Thompson was a father. Brian Thompson was a father. The only good thing that we can say about this ghoulish vampire who was withholding health care from people so that they would die for his profits is that when he fucked a woman, he didn't pull out. That's his accomplishment that we should venerate to the heavens. He did a thing a monkey does. Brian Thompson. All of those guys, like literally all of those guys, are walking around in the world. They want to absolutely destroy any remnant of social security nets whatsoever. And we're watching it happen in real time. Like, look who was right this whole friggin' time. You got it, Marks. You got it. Yeah, Jeff Bezos got a tax refund in 2019. Like, it's insane. Like, it's just absurd. Like, one of the things that I'm always trying to pursue, I'm always sort of grabbing at all the time, is how to find the language to articulate the insanity of this moment. That I am like, first and foremost, I like to believe I am first and foremost a poet. That's what I do. Like, I create music, I create songs. That this space is really here. And one of the things I've really come to understand about myself is that it's like an information dump. It's like a blah, blah, like, get the trash out of the way. So if you get the trash out of the way, then you'll find the gems hidden within. right? Jeff wants music this stream. You got it, bud. Got a request? Let me hit it. I'll just do it. Jeff, longtime viewer, just straight. You got it, my man. So, what are the classics? Wish My Mom Was Here. You got it, bud. That's easy. You guys are just gonna hear me tune, just for a moment, I went up on stage last night, and the first thing, I like strummed one chord, and I was like slightly out of tune. But you know how it is when you're like, you've got anxiety in your brain, you're like looking for the flaws? Because now I'm like tuning this thing, and I'm like, it's okay, like it was fine. I'm going to try to get out to open mics more often, so if you're here in the city of Toronto, I'm going to start posting that on the Discord a little more often. Yeah, because I had a really nice experience, and so I'm going to do it. Truth Speaker, good to see you. Hey, you're the communist one, I say a few weeks. Yeah, good to see you, bud. We're just going to play some music here. Oh, well, Jeff with a $6.99 donation. That's very kind of you, Jeff. Of that there is no doubt. Nobody can tell me quite what it's all about. The heartbreak and the loneliness, the chaos and the fear will make even the strongest cry. I wish my mom was here. A young man on a battlefield fights for a rich man's gold. The bullet cracks into his spine. He knows he won't grow old. And as the tears come streaming down, at once his mind is clear. The war was fought for nothing, he cries. I wish my mom was here. A lively story, well in hand, a joke to soothe your soul. And when it came to arguing, she'd forgive and let it go. And when I cried, she held me, told me it's okay, my dear. And as we face these darkened days, I wish my mom was here. And as we march into the streets, as all the righteous do, we'll raise our voices to the skies. They cannot stop the truth. And as we tear their structures down, we'll raise a victory cheer. We made the world a better place, and I wish my mom was here. Yeah, we made the world a better place. I wish my ma was here. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Here, I'm gonna play this one too. These two songs seem to have a similar emotional resonance to me, and so I feel like they're a pair. You know, like I can't play one without the other. I was just a little boy when my mom and dad divorced. Through my tantrums, cried my tears, I'd keep their vows by force. Now that I'm an older man, I see it had to be this way. And my love for them, it keeps on growing each and every day. Time passed me by so swiftly, I could have been a better man. And every day I'm trying to do the best things that I can. And though they're not the people I expected they would be, well, I love them all the same, and I just want them to be free. 10 years, me and my wife, we traveled around the globe. Sacred vows and shared regrets, they filled our lives with hope. Then one day she tells me that a man is not for her. Well, those 10 years are a memory now, but my love for her still stirs. Time passed me by so swiftly, I could have been a better man. And every day I'm trying to do the best things that I can. And though she's not the person I expected she would be, well, I love her all the same. I just want her to be free. My love had a little girl, a scrappy tomboy type. I watched her blossom like a flower, but she felt not quite right. Then one day she tells me she's a young man, not a girl. Well, I picked her up and held her close, then sent my son into the world. And time passed me by so swiftly, I could have been a better man. And every day I'm trying to do the best things that I can. And though he's not the person I expected he would be, I love him all the same. And I just want him to be free. And though they're not the people I expected they would be, I love them all the same. And I just want them to be free. Oh, thank you, Anemone. Thank you, Peanut Butter Beatrice. That's very kind of you guys. Thank you so much. Man, what a gift that one was. What a gift. Oh, okay. I have a new song. I don't know if I should play it. I'm feeling a little weird about it. So you know what? I'm going to play it for you guys. Because you guys have been with me for a long time. So, yeah, okay. True Speaker, in his wisdom, writes, realize how the only country that actually banned communism, parties and symbol displays, are actually ex-communist parties, or ex-communist countries. Yeah, fascism came back, bro. Like, the fascists win sometimes. Okay. This is going to be rough. You guys know how this goes. This is not going to be good. I already give this performance a D+. So I'm giving myself full permission for this to suck. I played it once already. today. So I'm not convinced about the pacing. I'm not convinced about the timing of anything. I'm not convinced about anything. So I'm just going to play it, and you're going to get it. Oh, we're out of tune again. No, we're not. Right off the bat, let's go. Whoa! It's not my problem. It's not my fault. Just killing time. Till the bomb drops. Another heartbreak. Just keeps me down. The red flag rises and I'm fucking around. No more excuses. No more lies. You throw that arm up. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. Jesus Christ bore whips and chains. What a pain in the ass that he's gotta rise again. They got the money. You got the clout. A Mangione is what it's all about. No more excuses. No more lies. You throw that arm in front of me and you're gonna die. You're gonna die. Just following orders. Don't blame it on me. Unlimited bloodshed in the land of the free. No gods and no masters, especially not you. We burned down your castles, yeah. What you gonna do? Where's the Christians? Where's the jihad? What happened to Occupy? 'Cause they think they're gods. They're all seeing eyes. Won't leave you alone. I give that song like a D right now. I'm not happy with it. Yeah, I do have to make an actual album. And there's no more excuses left. Initially, it was like a tech problem. The headphones that I had, the headphone jack that I had was busted. Oh, Peanut Butter Beatrice, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Occam Saber says, good song, thank you. I appreciate it. That's kind. Truth Speaker writes, I don't know any Nazis. Yeah, you do, bud. They're just not telling you. Like, Nazis don't walk around going, I'm a Nazi, until it's too late. Right? Ugh. You are right, though. I gotta get my act together. Start actually making music. I have no more excuses. I have all the tech. I've got everything I need. Right? I actually put in the legwork, got my tech issues solved, got things created and made, and I just need to sit down and actually, record some music and do some recordings. And I don't know. I think it's okay if they're raw. Jefferson Thompson, good to see you. Good to see you. Anemone writes, new song is really good. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I think it needs a little work. And more than other songs that I've made, I think that one is going to require instrumental support. There are some songs, like the song I think my mom, or I wish my mom was here, and especially Want Them to Be Free. I think Want Them to Be Free is almost perfect as it is. I'd like to add a flute, maybe a violin. And honestly, I think that's the type of song where beautiful people will come in and do beautiful things with it. And that's beautiful. But the Anemone writes, no, but the new song got me feeling things too. So I say it's still very good still. Yeah, I think you're right. And I won't be able to put that song aside, I think. Because I think that song is what got me to start going and doing open mics again. So I think that song is emotionally important to me. And so I'll probably continue tinkering with that one for a long time. I think I might just speed it up, I think I just might speed it up. I think making it more like slower a pace, I think it feels, by the time I finish that song, I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, buddy, point landed, right? And so I think maybe carving some of the stuff out, narrowing it, probably needs a bridge. I think I have a bridge written, I just don't have the chords for the bridge. And so I think I need to, and it really is just two chords, right? So I think I've got to just speed it up, I think. Anyway. Truth Speaker, the guy who says he doesn't know any Nazis, says, I don't believe Nazism is a significant issue. Elon Musk threw up a Nazi salute at the Trump inauguration. If you don't think Nazism is a significant issue, then I don't need to pay attention to you. You are an unserious person living in an unserious world. You have surrounded yourself in a bubble, and you are no longer relevant in the conversation of ideas. Yeah, you can always add harmonica into any kind of country-esque sort of vibe, right? Like harmonica, any kind of fiddle usually does pretty well. Yeah, I'll mess around with it. I think I'm going to have to tinker on that one a little bit more. Some songs fall out and they basically just stay as they are. Right? That's why I really say that Want Them to Be Free is a gift. A true gift. Because it pretty much fell out that way. It pretty much came out that way. And I think I've sort of tinkered with it a little. But that tinkering was more organic. Some songs you gotta carve. you got to do a little bit more carving, and you got to do a little bit more, like, this section needs to go, and a little bit more. And then that's going to be this one for sure. And at the end of the day, I'm like, maybe I'm not the right guy to sing that song, you know? It feels like a young man's song. It feels like a punk song almost, you know? Like it's got like a, like, yeah. Anyway. True speaker, I do think it's significant. I mean, it's not big. Yeah, Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, the man who is walking in to the treasury system with some stooges, some goons, right? So Elon Musk, right? We're gonna get this all sorted out, right? We're gonna get this all sorted out. Nazi salute man, who did a Nazi salute, also happens to be the wealthiest man in the world, or one of the wealthiest men in the world. Nazi salute man is embroiled in a scandal where many are calling a coup, where he, as a private citizen, an unelected official, went in to a government department as a private citizen who is not an elected official. He holds no office. The Department of Government Efficiency doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. Walked in to the Treasury system, the Treasury Department, Nazi salute man, walked into the Treasury Department with these goons and downloaded all the data and took it for himself and literally is posting things on his creepy fascist website, X, that he's deleting popular free IRS tax filing programs. So he's already starting to purge things to make things more difficult. You know, the Nazi salute man. So you downplaying this significance is, guess what? Nazi apologetics. Holy shit. You see how that works? You see what happens when you look at a Nazi and say, oh, it couldn't be so bad? That makes you a Nazi apologist. Like, what can Elon Musk do? Well, that's sort of, there's a differentiation in question there. Like, what is he permitted to do? Nothing. What can he do? He can literally throw millions of people off Medicare if no one stops him. Right? He can literally prevent Social Security payments from going through. Right? If nobody stops him. And Elon Musk's sort of belief system and form of Nazism is slightly different than Hitler's, right? In that I think it's far more class-based. Like, Nazis use the scapegoats that are lying around. And you're looking at a mass deportation. They've literally built a concentration camp on Guantanamo Bay, and they're deporting 30,000 people to a camp in Guantanamo Bay. Like, Truth writes, even if he was a Nazi in America, he can't do shit about it. This is what I'm talking about, dude. You're just out to lunch. Like, you just think, you have a very Pollyannish view. Like, he can obviously get things, like, you're still thinking within the confines of, like, but certainly some legal system will come in the way, and like, no, who? Who's arrested him? Has there been a big arrest? Is he being prevented? Who is stopping him? Right? It's like you're telling me, like, A mob boss can't just walk into my house and shoot me. Yeah, he obviously can. Like, obviously. That was a thing that happened for like 100 years. Like, that's obviously a thing that can happen. So, who's arresting him? Who's stopping it? Guys, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. I promise. Let's all brace. Just brace for a little bit of cringe. We got a guy over on Twitch who's just like, of course, just like blah blah blah. Male rights USA. Yeah. Here we go. Male rights USA. USA. Compton, calm down. Calm down. USA. 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 I know I voted for Trump. His base would never allow it. Yeah, right. Like, yeah, right, dude. Like, you think the mega cult is going to get anything done? People need to stop acting like Trump is building mass camps that he's definitely building. Actually, let's be really clear about what's actually happening. Trump is not building the camps. The camps were built long ago, right? That the Bush administration, as well as the Obama administration, definitely built this stuff. Like these sorts of things are long and institutional, right? And it isn't until you get a real wacko who's like, we could just use these buildings and then we can just light up the gas chambers, right? Like, but you're right. Like, Trump doesn't build anything, right? Trump's not a builder. He gets other people to build it, and then he puts his name on the side of buildings, right? And so it's going to be like Gitmo Trump, because he'll slap his name on the side of it. But like, a lot of those camps were built under the Bush administration, which was, pretty insane administration by its own right. Sheriff Joe Arpaio said, I already have my own concentration camps in the Bush era. Yeah. Like, there are black sites all over the place, for sure. So Trump is just going to use them. Right? Like, please remember who you're talking to. I am not a Democrat. Right? I think the Democrats are just as complicit. That they are allies with the Republicans. That the Republicans and the Democrats are friends who work together to achieve goals collectively. Right? That what is happening right now is a mask-off moment because it's one of the members of the capitalist class going in there to get things done. And that getting things done is a bunch of Nazi shit. Right? It's using the infrastructure built by neoliberals and fascists throughout a period of, like, again, you're talking to a guy that doesn't really create much of a distinction between neoliberalism and fascism. Like, I think that they're cousins at the very, very, very most distance. They're more like siblings. Like, the difference between neoliberalism and fascism is that the neoliberal waves a little pride flag in front of you. That's it. Neoliberalism, don't prevent the merger of business and state. The merger of business and state shall continue unimpeded. More girl boss CEOs. More girl boss CEOs. Put a rainbow on the side of the bomb. That's neoliberalism, right? So the reason why, I will say this though, right, is that throughout the neoliberal era, at least there was consistency, right? Things occurred in a way that made consistent sense. And so the rest of the world could look at it and say, you are doing some heinous shit, because it's America, baby, and America is known for doing heinous shit. at least internationally. For some reason, people domestically still think America's like this great moral high ground, like shining star on the hill. When it's a fucking joke. But at least there was stability in it. The leaders would stand up and they would say, these are our enemies. This is what we intend to do. And then they would do the things they intended to do. And history has shown us over and over and over again that if people live in a stable environment that they feel is unjust, they will usually just bear down and live with it if the environment is stable, because stability is more important than anything to people. Trump is bringing in a lot of instability. There's a lot of instability that Trump is bringing. And you can see that just like with the very first thing the guy basically does, like this tariff conflict, right? It just brings a lot of instability into the system, and it introduces a lot of chaos, and it makes everybody take a big step back and go, whoa. And really what it's going to do in the long term is it's really going to make a lot like Trump's tariff threat and the response from Canada and Mexico and all that. It's not going to blow over. It's never going to blow over. It's going to be studied in classes. The next generation of kids who are in university classes today are going to be taught and have serious discussions about that moment. And a lot of those kids are going to walk away from that going, man, Canada needs to have a tighter control of its own productive capacity. Any agreement and arrangement we've got with America, like if we're, like, I'll tell you a big one from Manitoba, from the Manitoba perspective. Like, Manitoba produces a lot of hogs. They send them down to like Montana, right? To just on the other side of the border, because there are slaughterhouses there that were built long ago, right? So Canada takes advantage of that infrastructure, and we had a free trade agreement. And so that was sort of understood that we can go back and forth and that'll be fine. Trump comes in and says 25% tariff. That's a huge problem, right? It's a huge problem for hog producers. It's a huge problem for the slaughterhouses. It's a huge problem for everybody. And so it's going to make a lot of people, a lot of economists, a lot of political scientists, a lot of people in the political class, a lot of just regular old people start to go, yeah, we should build some slaughterhouses up here. What are we doing? Why are we shipping those across the border that they can shut down on us or put a 25% tariff on us at any moment for whatever reason they want? Nope. And there's a lot of that going on. Like, you literally have Doug Ford. Doug Ford just got caught. Doug Ford, the premier, the governor of Ontario, right? Just was caught being very open and vocal, talking to regular citizens, in kind of the dopey way he does. He's like, yeah, I was happy to see Donald Trump get elected. I was rooting for him to get elected. And then he turns around and pulls out the dagger and stabs us. Oh, no. And that's what he says. I can't believe the leopards ate my face, right? It's got that kind of vibe. Oh, the leopard, it ate my face. I can't believe it. While the rest of us are like, yeah, Dougie. Like what'd you think was going to go down? Like, you thought you were going to be chums with this guy? And and so it's introduced a lot of instability. And there are other actors in the world who are much more stable and are presenting a much more stable image and a much more stable agenda. And if America continues with this game of instability, it's going to find itself getting more and more isolated in the world. And that's a crazy story, but this is the one I wanted to talk about. Like, Trump is literally saying out loud in front of everybody that he plans to withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council. Like, that's the definition of destabilization. That's enormously destabilizing. Like as much as the UN is sort of a paper, like, it's just sort of a paper tiger, like, it doesn't actually have any power. right? Doesn't really have that much influence. It is at least a place where clarity lives. Like, if you want big declarations to be seen as open and nakedly as possible, you go to the United Nations Human Rights Council. You go to the United Nations, right? You want to see the real votes. You want to see where people really stand. You want to see some clarity on the political stage. And well, here's the United States saying, no, we're out. We're going to give less clarity. We're going to give less information. We're going to communicate less. That's a real problem. It's a real problem for everybody. That's a problem for Canada. It's a problem for Mexico. That's a problem for Europe. Right? Forget about China and India and Russia and like the quote unquote enemies. Right? Forget about the axis of evil. For Canadians, for the allies of America, for your friends. Like, we are sitting over here being like, what the fuck? And when Trump starts talking about this 51st state stuff, we don't like that one bit. We don't like that one bit. No, sir. No, sir. You're not going to see any support for that. You're not going to see anybody. You're not going to see a politician coming up and be like, well, we're going to sign the papers and we'll be the 51st state of America. That's not happening. There's a no starter on that. And if you guys start sending your boys up here, we're going to shoot back. Like, we're going to shoot back. Like, you guys can't take over Afghanistan. You guys can't beat the Houthis. You're not taking Canada. You're sure shooting not taking Canada. And if that starts to happen, what? You think your European allies are going to stick with you? You think the Mexicans are going to stick with you? Who's going to stick with America if they start to go down that road? And the very fact that it's even on the table, the very fact that there's even a meaningful discussion about it, is extremely destabilizing. Just extremely destabilizing. And so what you're witnessing, what the United States is doing to itself, and it is doing it to itself, right? Is it's isolating itself from the rest of the world. It's like it's like a 14-year-old girl storming off to her bedroom and screaming her head off and like self-cutting and doing all kinds of crazy shit. And like the inevitable result of all of this is going to be an insane civil strife. Some people are describing it as a civil war. I see it as the death throes of the old guard. Like the death throes of the people who killed Martin Luther King. Like they're not letting go easy. And they know they're losing. That the demographics of America are shifting away from those ideas. The demographics of America are not just through race politics, but also generationally, are shifting away from these old Republican ideas. From this old, like, make America great again. Well, when was America great? Yeah, when we could own people. Okay, cool. And so this is it. This is the death throw. And it wants to take power, and it wants to seize power, and it wants to keep power, and it wants to consolidate power, and it wants to erect an entrenched oligarchy that cannot be overthrown, so that its ideas, its bad ideas that are on the way out and are dying demographically, will remain entrenched and can be enforced. But that's kind of a misunderstanding of how ideas work. Kind of a misunderstanding of how populations work and societies work. That you require the participation of the people in order to make your ideas work. Like, if everybody just stopped using Facebook, that would be the end of Mark Zuckerberg. It would be over. Like, if literally everybody just deleted Facebook and walked away. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for coming. get fucked. And so our participation is what's required, and eventually people will stop participating. Right? And that's how institutions fall. Like, if you can't recruit soldiers to your military, you have no military. If you can't recruit priests to the church, you have no church. Like, if people will not line up to be hired into your institutions, the CIA, the FBI, right? If they won't do it, then you have nothing, and it's gone. And it doesn't happen tomorrow. It happens generation by generation. There's a reason why these guys are using kids. Right? There's a reason why these guys are using kids. Take a look at who Donald Trump's what's the title that I'm looking for? The press secretary. She's 27. She's like a little girl. Right? And they've got her all made up and all this so that she kind of looks more mature, but she's 27, for Christ's sakes. Like, this isn't a responsible, like, she literally just got the ability to rent a car. And now you're telling me that she's the liaison between the president and the press. Yeah, okay. There's a reason why they're using kids. Right? There's a reason. Because kids can be duped. And they don't need to have that many of them be duped. And so as this isolation continues, and as the United States begins its decline, its significant, swift decline. Yeah. Hull, good to see you. You're right. The fascist takeover is happening so fast. Yeah, and it's going to accelerate. It is. It's going to accelerate. Right? Like, what have I been saying? Right? Buildings like this. Right? Buildings like this, you're like, that's going to fall. Right? It's like that Lenin quote, right? Weeks when decades happen. There are decades where weeks happen and weeks where decades happen. JT, good to see you. Jefferson, if I didn't say hi. Dave, if I didn't say hello. Long Defiant, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Always a pleasure. You guys have been typing while I've been saying. Peanut Butter Beatrice writes, looks like unfettered capitalism has reached its final stage. You haven't even seen my final form. No, this isn't the final phase. The final phase is public punishments. That's the final phase. That's the final stage. Like right now we're just kind of at deportations. Right? Everything is still somewhat like this. Elon Musk doing this is like it's the public nature of it. Right? It's when you get 2,000 people in a room doing a Nazi salute. It's when you get it's like when you get like 10,000 people crucified. Right? Like that's the final form. The final form is unabashed, brazen, suppressive, oppressive violence against a populace that is unwillingly the subjects of an illegitimate ruling class. That's the final step. That's the final phase. And it will absolutely happen. It will absolutely happen. Right? Because who are the inheritors of all of this? Right? It's these dingleberries who are being groomed and brought up into it. Like public floggings. We can go back to all of it. All of it. Public hangings, public executions, public crucifixions. We can do all of it. There isn't one aspect of it we cannot do. And this culture and this society will manifest it. Like, Like we're gonna see a public execution broadcast on CNN. You understand? Like they're gonna get somebody like it'll be like Mangione, right? It'll be like a kid like this, right? It'll be some kid. It'll be somebody, right? And the entire pretense of there being a meaningful legal system will just be gone, right? Will just be gone. Like some guy murks Bill Gates, let's say. Let's go big, right? And Bill Gates' wife just goes full Lady Macbeth on it. And it's just like screeching at the top of her lungs. They're just like, get this guy. And they just grab him and they just do it. Like right in the middle of Times Square. Just done. Right? And everybody's just like, whoa! No charges, nothing laid. She's a multi-billion-dollar person who just turns at you like a screaming banshee and goes, what are you going to do about it? And the answer is fuck all. Nobody's going to fucking do anything about it. Like, these events are coming. Public events. As extreme as possible. And you can sort of see it manifesting in, I can't show the image for obvious reasons, but like Kanye West. Kanye West at the Grammys, I believe, paraded his wife around the Grammys essentially fully nude. She was wearing like a dress that was essentially invisible, right? It was like a sheer net. So she was essentially fully nude at the Grammys, all being done on the pretense of fashion, right? But what clearer indication can you possibly have? What clearer indication can you possibly have of the billionaire class beginning to act in public in a way that challenges and says, what are you going to do about it? This is what I want to do. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is nothing. The answer is that we're going to take pictures of it. And we're going to spread it around. We're going to show people. Right? And like anybody who's standing around being like, what about like basic decency, right? Like, yeah, 100% invisible dress in front of many children. Right? Like, yep, same with the flexing of Gucci trash, like 50K bags that look like a Walmart bag. Yeah. Just extravagance for the sake of extravagance. And it won't be too much longer until their cruelty and their violence is just fully on display. Oh, Truth Speaker says Canada will make a great state. You're out. Warmongering fucking fascist Nazi. You know a Nazi after all. It's you motherfucker. Get out of my chat. Fucking warmongering troglodyte. Go fuck yourself. And then you agree? Yeah, bye-bye. No Nazis in the chat. No Nazis. No Nazis. No Nazis in the chat. Take your American supremacy and your Nazism and get the fuck out of here. That's the big problem, right? Is this normalization of Nazism, where the Nazis aren't even really aware that they're Nazis, right? Like it'll literally be like that. Let's just get the image, right? Like it'll literally be this for these kids. It'll literally be this. Are we the baddies? You know, our uniforms do have, you know, little skulls all over them, you know? Like this old David Mitchell skit where it's like it straight up will not, and you can actually see this starting to happen with small specific small groups within the IDF, right? After this genocide that they did, you see a lot of these guys, like, in retrospect, being like, now, wait a minute. I don't know if that was a good thing to have done. Like, you see this with, like, war veterans, like Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans. I listen to them on podcasts, and they're sitting there talking about their tours and what they were doing. And a lot of these guys are starting to be like, now, hold on a minute. I don't think that we were on the right side of that thing there, actually. Huh. Yeah, Joe, good call, John. Yeah, if you are openly calling for an aggressive action against a foreign power, guess what? Guess what, you fucking Nazi? Creepy weirdos. Losers. Total fucking losers. Jefferson Thompson, it is so normalized. Last week here, a group of them were mimicking Elon on Instagram. And later, a public worker posted a photo with a Nazi flag and also doing the salute. Yeah, they're under investigation. Yeah, and soon that'll stop. Right? Soon that'll stop. Like, right now, it's just a trickle, and soon it'll be a flood. Right? And it'll start to flood. Like, and it'll just be happening so often that any institution that exists won't be able to keep up with it. Right? Like, it pays to remember that in Nazi Germany, what we call Nazi Germany, but which anybody with sense in their brain would just call Germany, right? The Nazi Party had millions of supporters, or millions of people who were on board with the Nazi Party. Right? It was a normal political position and a normal political party. And most of the people that were supporting it weren't walking around in their day-to-day lives being like, we got to get these Jews. Right? A lot of them were just saying things like, we need to put Germany first, right? We need to make sure that we're stable and pure. And they found whatever scapegoat was lying around. And in Europe at that time, it was the Jews. Right? Here, it's Hispanics and Muslims. Right now. Won't be too much longer until we turn our eye back on the black population, as is historically been the case. And I mean, if you look in the prison system, that's already been happening. So, it's this normalization. It's the normalization of Nazism. It's the like, oh, what's the big deal about it? Right? And you got like dumb kids, people who are dumb, like, not as an insult, but just like as a reality of their existences. People who are not fully formed, right? Who literally are looking at people like Elon Musk with just stars in their eyes. Wow, it's Elon Musk. That must make him good. And they don't know the difference. They're just following the impulse to power, right? He's powerful, therefore. I would also like to be powerful, therefore. This is where power is. This is how we pursue power. Right? And like, very famously, like, there were Nazis in Germany, people in the Nazi Party, in the SS, that were deeply uncomfortable with exterminating Jews. They didn't want to do it. And there were Nazis who were put in positions where they would have to do it, and they filed formal complaints. And then they were just removed from those posts and weren't reprimanded. There was no condemnation. It wasn't like, you will kill the Jews or we will shoot you. Like, that's bullshit. They were just removed from the post, and somebody else who was willing to do it was put in. And then that Nazi continued supporting the Nazis who are doing this through some other capacity. and could in some capacity where he could sleep at night. And like make no mistake at all. Make no mistake at all that there were Nazis who died as Nazis believing that Nazism was correct. You can just take a look at Carl Schmitt, right? Like there's just, and this is why rehabilitating the Nazis was such a devastating blow to the West. And it'll pay for it. Joe writes, how about all those making excuses for Elon's recent Nazi salute? Yeah. No, it's total garbage. Like, it's total trash. Like, I think that there are two types of people, and neither of them are acceptable anymore. You have just delusional people, flat earth people, just people who are like, reality is as I believe it is. Right? And I've spoken at length about how like we really should have taken the flat earth scourge more seriously. We really should have looked at the flat earthers and immediately right away, not with this sense of like, huh, can you believe, huh, can you believe, huh, can you believe? We should have taken that as a high level, like level 10 flashing red alert, major crisis. There are people in your highly advanced industrial society, with all of its complexities, genuinely believing that the earth is flat. You can believe that, you can believe anything you like. Big time red flashing red alert. And what was the reddest of flashing red lights with that is that it wasn't like there was like a cultural, like, wasn't like there was a cultural through line, right? The way that like Catholicism, it's like this cultural through line, and there's like a whole 1,000-year narrative of just like, right? It like came out of fucking nowhere. And it's just all of a sudden there was a bunch of people walking around being like, hey, the Earth's actually flat, you know. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a crisis. So you got those people, right? And then you have the people who just are Nazis, right? Or at the very barest minimum, Nazi sympathizers and Nazi apologists. Just people who don't actually have a problem with the idea that their leaders would be Nazis. Right? People who are like, yeah, I know I'll be fine. Or people who believe that they'll be fine. Right? Like there's this really iconic picture. Let me see if I'll pull it up right away. Probably have to go back a little bit. Have to go back a little tiny bit. This whole cartoon, which was really lovely, very cathartic. Little tiny bit. When I said little tiny bit, I meant really far away. And I've actually even forgotten what I'm looking for already. Isn't that funny how that works? Republican Jesus. We'll open that one. That one's fun. This one is also fun. Republican Jesus. Hail Tesla. Like, you've got... This is a good one too. Yeah, I've literally forgotten what I'm looking for. I lost my train of thought. It happened. It happened. 5, 4, 3. Oh, perfect. I remembered. This photo right here. This is an iconic photo. This is the photo of this moment. 100%. 100%. People who are supporting fascists and Nazis, who believe that they won't be affected by those fascists and Nazis. Oh yeah, dude, this photo is iconic. Like, this is straight up like, if in 50 years, somebody was like, hey, you were alive during that. What was that like? I'll just be like, there's the photo. Look at this shit. It's perfect. Latinos for Trump, getting pulled away by ICE agents, probably sent to Gitmo. Look, Hull writes, I never understood immigrants voting for Trump. I just don't. I think people don't really know what they're voting for. Right? Like, people don't really know what it is they're actually voting for. And, yeah, if irony had an illustration, yeah. And, like, Donald Trump and his band of ghouls are exceptionally good liars. Like, they're just exceptionally good liars. And they're frauds. Like, they know how to manipulate people's emotions, and they do so. And there are a lot of emotions going on in America right now. And there's a lot of really dark ideologies and ideas being unleashed through America right now. And there's a lot of this, like, for God's sakes, for the last 8 years, Donald Trump has been going around wearing a red hat that said, "Make America Great Again." And it's never explicitly stated, but these guys are talking about segregation. Like, make America great again. Okay, cool. When was that? When the races were segregated. During segregation. That's when America was great. Like, and here they are. I'm not seeing a lot of white people getting rounded up. Oh, yeah. Hate and bigotry will destroy the U.S. for sure. Like, for sure. And, like, it's a self-implosion. It's a self-implosion of the highest possible order that is now unstoppable, in my view. Like, you take a look at how pathetic the Democrats are and how pathetic the resistance is and how unwilling these people are to actually do anything meaningful or be meaningful to anyone. Like, what Elon Musk has done, like, it's an incredibly brazen act. And if you ask me, like, this moment right here, like, if this happened in China, Russia, right? Everyone on Earth would understand that this is a coup. It would be discussed as if it were a coup. No one would mince words about it. Everyone would talk about how destabilizing this is, how untrustworthy the state apparatus has become. Everybody would understand that. There wouldn't be any confusion, right? A private, like, imagine Jack Ma, right? Like, imagine Jack Ma walks into the National People's Congress with a gang of goons, right? Walks into the National People's Congress and seizes control of the banking system, the financial system, and then starts messing with the levers. What do you think people would say about this? Oh, yeah, I mean, Sweet Leaf is coming in a little bit late. No, USAID is, yeah, like, it's a CIA cutout for sure. But, like, I'm not going to pretend like Elon Musk is actually interested in America, because he's not. He's completely self-interested, right? Like Elon Musk is not. He'll project the image and the idea that it's like, this is actually for American security and this will be good for America, it's total bullshit. Like, we're looking at a narcissistic psychopath, like, and nothing else. So much of my stream is trying to talk people down from self-gaslighting, right? So there's got to be an explanation for it, you know. Oh, he can't be like this. Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. Doge is doing its job. Doge doesn't have a job. It's not a department. Like, it's not a real thing, right? It literally has the name of a Bitcoin, right? Like, it's not a real institution. Yeah, they called it the Department of Government Efficiency. It's not a real institution. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. Like, come on. Like, come on. Like, we can't be this dim-witted. Like, we can't be this silly. They literally named it an acronym so it would match up to Dogecoin. It was never approved by Congress. It's not part of the United States apparatus at all. It's an institution that doesn't exist and has no actual power to do anything. Yeah, it seems like it's doing something like a mob boss would. Like, we really are this dim-witted, eh? Like, this is dim-witted, what I'm getting from you right now. And I have no problem calling it that. So if I walked into your house and shot your mom and then stole all your money, you'd just be like, well, it's named the Department of Efficiency. Like, this is dim-witted. Elon Musk is an unelected official in a department that does not exist, stealing the information and messing with the levers of government with absolutely no approval whatsoever. He's not a king. He's not a king. He has no authority. He has no power. He's just going into places and smashing them up. Like, this is a smash and grab. And everybody's just watching him do it and being like, whoa. Which shows you how fucking pathetic these Democrats are. And how pathetic the CIA is, and the FBI, and the military. That they're just watching this smash and grab happen. And they're all just like, well, I mean, I guess Donald Trump likes him, I guess. The guy should be arrested. Too stupid. You're too stupid to talk to. Too stupid to talk to. Go suck your Nazi cock. Get out of here. Too stupid to talk to. Like, unbelievably stupid. Just absolutely the bottom of the barrel moronic. Literally a private citizen just broke into your institutions that are controlling things like Medicare and is mucking about, and you're literally talking about like transgender shit. You're a moron. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. And when bad things start to happen to you because of it, I'm not going to care. Go cry in a corner somewhere else and do your Nazi salutes with your friends, you fucking loser. Unbelievably stupid. Unbelievably stupid. Like, these people want to suffer. It really is that simple. Like, there's just people who are just like, I can't wait to suffer. I can't wait to experience the suffering. I can't wait to watch people cry and laugh at their tears. And then I can't wait to feel that suffering myself. Like, it's just like a self-flagellation at this point. It's just, and it's cringy and it's embarrassing and it's pathetic. Like, get the fuck out of here, you loser. Too stupid to talk to. Ugh. Gross. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're worried about the Chinese and the Russian, but the biggest problem is inside the U.S. Well, and that's another thing that gets brought up about all of this. Like, what did they have to tear down? What security measures did they have to tear down to do this? That if there are, in fact, foreign adversaries, which they keep banging on about, right? This is certainly going to be a security threat from that perspective. How could this be anything other than that? Like, it's insane to me that anybody would have the absolute stupidity and audacity to try to act as an apologist, a fucking Nazi apologist, no less, for this completely unlawful, unwarranted coup. Like, you are too stupid to discuss these issues with. You need to sit in the corner and be silent. Like, really straightforwardly. You need to sit in the corner and understand that your opinions are invalid. Because you're just a creepy little Nazi. You weirdo. God damn. And these people are walking around being like, Canada's going to be the 51st state. Yeah, come on up here. See what it does. Fucking Americans. Just a bunch of losers. God, I'm so looking forward to when your country collapses inward. Fuck, I hope you die. I hope you die in the war. Jesus Christ. Hull writes, well done to Canada and Mexico for the immediate tariff response. The fuck was Trump thinking, causing economic war so people like us suffer? Yeah, and now it's all being twisted and spun into, Trump got him to shore up border security. Trump got him to shore up border security. And if you look at the phone calls and the agreements, it's like literally both of them offered to do things they were already doing and had announced like a year ago. And Trump said, great. Like, Trump tipped his hand. Like, he tipped his hand big time. Right? He came out chest out, pounding his chest, being like, wow, 25% tariff. Bruh! And then when he saw what that actually was going to mean, because he's a moron, with no actual thoughts or ideas, once he saw what that actually was going to do, what it was actually going to mean, right? He had one phone call with these guys, and they basically, he said, shore up your border security. And they said, well, how about we do this thing? And he went, great. Then he's going to turn to his MAGA crowd, fucking Nazis, and go, they're sending more troops to the border. Meanwhile, it's what they were doing all along. Straight up no change whatsoever. So it's all a storm in a teacup. And the end result of it is that it's got literally everybody looking at America going, what the fuck, son? What in the fuck are you doing, bro? And all this talk about annexing Greenland, pulling himself out of the UN Human Rights Commission, like Canada's going to be the 51st state, the Gulf of America, like all this shit. Boy, howdy, is that just making people nervous as hell. Boy, howdy. Oh, yeah, China's response was also swift, for sure. Like, China and Canada talk back and forth a lot. Like, the conversation between China and Canada is ongoing. Right? And if this shit continues, absolutely there will be an administration that finally is just like, hey, farmers, you want to make a lot of money? Can you get over your xenophobia and send your shit over to China? And eventually the farmers will be like, yeah, I like money. And that'll be the end of that. JT writes, I'm curious to see how Canada can decouple from the US even in its neoliberal way. The best way for Canada to decouple from the United States in a meaningful way is to take a look at all of the trade agreements that it has, discover what is it that we can actually bring into the domestic side, and build domestic production here. That's the number one way for us to decouple from the United States. So like, I've used this example a lot. I'll continue using it because it's very straightforward. Everybody can understand it, right? So we produce hogs. Hogs come out of Manitoba. We ship them. Here, we ship them directly south. Of course, I'm completely blanking on what's directly south of Manitoba right at the moment. So ship them south to North Dakota and Minnesota. Maybe over to Montana, right? Where they have slaughterhouses. They had that infrastructure built a long time ago. And we had the idea, well, how about instead of us building slaughterhouses, spending all that money and time and production in order to do it, how about we just ship them down to where they've already built them, right? So we could take advantage of that infrastructure. And so we create like free trade agreements in order to facilitate that and make that nice and easy, nice open border. Everybody wins. And then along comes a guy like Trump and is like, 25% tariff. So the guy producing the hog, prices go up 25%. The guy slaughtering the hog and selling it back to Winnipeg and Calgary and Edmonton into Ontario, prices go up 25%. Hey, here's a good idea. How about we build a slaughterhouse? Huh? Aren't politicians always yammering on about job creation? How about instead of sending $1 billion over to Ukraine, we spend $10 million and build a fucking slaughterhouse? What do you think? And this has definitely spooked people, and it's put this thought into people's heads and made it a much more serious consideration than it was previously. Much more serious consideration than it was previously. And so this whole thing is just absolutely on if you consider it in the states, like this is the thing that I think we inherently, and I think it's pretty natural and normal, and there are also a lot of political philosophies that follow this line of thought. We inherently think about international politics in a state system, right? The United States, Ukraine, Russia, Canada. These are amorphous, like a big blob, right? Boom, and there's these borders. We have this idea that it's like, this is a homogeneous blob, and this is a homogeneous blob, and all of this kind of stuff. But as we're seeing the oligarchs rise, like, some of these oligarchs have more wealth than most nations, right? Like a guy like Elon Musk has more wealth than like half the world's nations. Like he registers on the list. Like really, really put that in your brain and really, really let this sink in and really let it take into your body, right? One person registers on the list of nations. So it's straight up like Botswana, Madagascar, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Tanzania, Yemen, Oman, Elon Musk, Sudan, Chad, straight up. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Ghana. Like, this is the world that you live in, right? Like, I read an article the other day that was trying to be an apology piece for, it was trying to be an apologetics piece for Bill Gates. Bill Gates doesn't own that much land. The acreage, it sounds like such a huge number, 250,000 acres across America. It sounds like such an enormous number. But if you were to take all of that land, it would only cover half the state of Rhode Island. Right? Small state, to be fair. To be fair. Right? So it's not that much. It only registers as half of a United State. And everybody's just like, that's fucking normal. That's fucking normal. Inverted Mystic, good to see you. Don't worry, there's hope for America. People like me watching you, it just remains to be seen what rises from the ashes. These people make more than the GDP of a lot of countries. Yeah, it's bigger than the Papal States, for sure. No, the wealth has gotten so out of control and is so outrageous that, like, we can't even comprehend the ramifications of what it's going to be like. Like, these people are building, like, isolated towns, bunkers. Like, these people are going to, out of whole cloth, build entire institutions for the next generation of people to take over and essentially rule and govern from. And, like, there's just not going to be a pretense anymore. It's just going to be gone. Right? Like Bill Gates' children are not going to, like, Elon Musk's kids are not going to fuck around. Like, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm the queen. Like, what are you going to do? Like, there's going to be this entire generation of people who are just, like, born as billionaires, living a billionaire existence, who see us all as their inferiors and that they have this divine right to have this wealth. Like, it's just going to be that way. And they're literally going, if a political class remains out of all of this, they're literally just going to be like, do this. And if anybody stands up to them, they'll just have their goon squad remove them. Like, that's what's going down. That's what's happening right in front of your eyes. And there's no sense pretending. There's no sense living in a delusional space. Right? There isn't really any sense spending any time in grief or anger even about it any longer. Just like there's no sense of having any sadness. There's no sense of having any of that. Like, you have your emotions for sure, but there does come a moment where you got to be like, okay, cool, this is what it is. Like, you got to get out of bed and you got to go do stuff, and you got to continue living your life, and you've got to do what you can to, in the small ways that you are capable, resist the overwhelming reality of a collapsing democracy. Like, because here's the truth, right? Here's the truth. You are in grief for the future you expected. It's dead. The life that you saw in front of you is over. The sadness you feel and the grief that you feel and the weight that you feel is you grieving the loss of a self that might have been, of the expectation you had and the hope that you had. It's gone. And there's no sense wasting any more time on it. It's just gone. Cry your tears, howl, not telling you not to grieve. But the goal is to get to acceptance. The goal is to get to that place where you can wake up in the morning and stand up and say, I feel good today. Let's go. And to get out into the world and to do whatever it is you can do. These guys have been planning this moment for 50 years. It has been an intergenerational handoff. The phrase, "Make America Great Again," was run on a platform by Ronald Reagan. The whole concept of neoliberalism was manifested in the 60s. This trajectory of America's downfall and decline is so much bigger than you. Enormously bigger than you. You couldn't have done anything. You couldn't have stopped it. It's like a tsunami. All you can do is acknowledge it, accept it, plant your feet on the ground, and get about your work. Get about your work. And that's all there is to it. And that societies pivot on the small resistances. That we tend to focus on the large events because that's the easiest, the biggest, the conflagrations. But the true resistances come from the small day-to-day resistances. Like, imagine if that guy in that McDonald's had a seen Mangione, had a seen Luigi, thought to himself, he kind of fits that description, and then thought to himself, but fuck these pigs, and just moved on with his life. Not a big thing. Didn't even do anything. These are the small, everyday resistances. We don't need to participate. And you're right. It is wasted potential. We even have an example in the world today, as if God were mocking the United States of America to its face. We have an example in the world of what human potential is capable of. There's a country in the world today that is igniting a sun. There's a country in the world today that is literally lighting a fusion reactor. And every time it turns the reactor on, it lives longer. It stays stable longer. And every single time. And they're building these high-speed rails. And they're building a satellite dish to collect solar energy to beam down to Earth. Like, the human potential is right there, and we have the clearest possible example that you could ever see doing it right in front of your face right now. So we know it can be done. And we should have hope in that. We know it can be done. It won't be done by us. That's over. Kill that little white supremacist inside of yourself. Kill that little person that still believes in the idea of American exceptionalism. Kill that little voice inside of yourself that said, but it could have been me. It isn't. It just isn't. That's not our job. That's not our lot. Our role and our lot is to dig in our heels and to stop participating in a system that's dragging us in the wrong direction, that's dragging us down, that refuses to fulfill human potential, which we know humans have, which we know we can do. We know we can do it. Our job is to cease participation, to sabotage, to walk away, to dismantle, to throw the wrenches. And if you don't have wrenches, to use your bones into the gears and the works of the capitalist system. Every step of the way, force them to drag you along. Do not obey a word they say. There are no laws. Do not listen to a thing they have to offer you. Do not take their money. Do not believe their lies. Cry your tears and then get on with it. You'll be happier for it. You'll feel better for it. I promise you that. I promise you that. And no more lies and no more bullshit. The West is a fascist state. You can sort of keep deceiving yourself if you live in Canada or some of the European nations. But the West is going fascist. It's happening. In a way, this whole thing has been very clarifying, right? Like, we don't really need to debate anymore, right? Like, the debates are over. Like, I remember, that was always sort of the Joe Rogan excuse, right? Oh, we should hear out from everybody, right? Good ideas beat bad ideas. Ha 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 ha. No, it's done now. Like it's over. There are sides. Clear, defined sides. And those clear, defined sides are the fascist state and the workers. That's the clear, defined line. And if somebody is going to stand in front of you and act as an apologist for the fascist state, well, they're a fascist. And if they're going to platform fascists, then they're a fascist. And if they're going to hear fascists out, then they're a fascist. We don't need to debate them anymore. That why are we debating whether or not people get access to food and shelter? Why was that ever a debate? And so it's no longer about convincing people. Because if you're not convinced now, then you're bought in. Like if you're not walking around saying, oh, I refuse to participate in this Nazi bullshit. I refuse to participate in this fascist garbage. If you're not doing that yet, you're not going to be convinced. You're just going to continue on doing what you're doing. Eggs D writes, it didn't have to be this black and white, but they made sure it is. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it, right? Like, and to me, I think the only people left in the conversation who are at all confused are people who still think the Democrats are gonna do anything. Those, to me, are the only people who are sort of confused. Because the fascists aren't confused, right? And they're going to be willing to stand up and give you the reasons for why they think they're right, right? He was just giving his heart out, that kind of garbage, right? And it's always going to be stupid because Nazis are stupid. It's always going to be like that. We don't need to hear them out. They're ridiculous clown people who are cheering on the decline of their society and their civilization, whose best case outcome is extermination. Like, that's their best case. Like, that's their win condition. That's how they win. So they're not confused. And then people who are outside of the political system saying, yeah, these guys are all allies, they work together, and this is the outcome. And some of them are looking at it aghast because they're so close to it they couldn't see it happening in front of them. Right? They're too invested in their donor class and their ownership class. They're still walking around saying things like, we believe we're going to be supported by the good billionaires. As if such a thing could exist. That there's absolutely no understanding that the very existence of a billionaire is by its very definition harmful. Harmful not just to the billionaire, but to the society that supports him. Joe writes, I have an otherwise sensible friend who holds out for hope that Trump and company may still do some actual good. Yeah. No, that's like that's like the 5 stages of grief, right? Denial, bargaining, anger, depression, acceptance. That's kind of a blend of denial and bargaining, right? It's kind of a bargaining. It's just sitting there being like, sure, some bad things are happening, sure, but, there could be some good things that happen too, There's some good things that come out of it, So, that's where your friend is at. Because it's no longer intellectual. We don't need to explain this intellectually. Like, what are you talking about? They're kicking in doors and rounding up people, and they're breaking into government facilities and stealing property. Like, they're fucking Nazis. They're doing the Nazi salute. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you goddamn talking about? So we're no longer dealing with intellect. We're no longer living in rational spaces. That if it was just 1 + 1 = 2, everybody would just be like, yes, 1 + 1 = 2. But if 1 + 1 = 2, which equals genocide, then people are going to be like, well, what is 1? 1 + 1 = what are these numbers? And they're going to drag their heels and their feet because it's no longer intellectual. It's emotional. That we're dragging people through an emotional experience. And it's going to leave traumatic intergenerational scars that are going to persist for generations. For generations. Like, we're not going to get over it. We're not going to just recover immediately. And all of that is and there's going to be an emotional suppression, and there's going to be people pushing down their emotions, the denial of their emotions, the grind set crowd. And so it is going to be like this. Otherwise sensible people are going to suddenly be living in La La Land. And that's always been true. Humans are always and have always been like this. That's like, you can be having a conversation with a person who seems very rational, very normal, holds a very rational, normal positions, and then all of a sudden is just talking about Jesus. And how Jesus came to him and said these things to him. That's not rational. And you shouldn't expect it to be rational. That's a person who's communicating about their emotions to you. That they have reached a level of comfort with you, that they are willing to open themselves up and be vulnerable emotionally, and Jesus is the way that they've done it. We've always been that way. It's nothing new. And then the people who don't buy into the Jesus thing have other languages that they use. Star charts, astrology, oh, you're a Virgo. Like, these are all methods that we've always used to tap in and describe and explain our emotional selves. And we live in an emotionally dead society. A society that treats emotions as weaknesses or flaws, or as something to be exploited. That if you can exploit someone else's emotions, then you're wise and smart. And the people who are most susceptible to it, are the people who deny it. Yeah, we got priests out here doing the salute as well. Calvin Robinson. I don't know his name, but if he's the guy I'm thinking of, he got fired for that. That these first initial people who will be described as martyrs in the MAGA cult, but eventually there's just going to be too many of them. Right? There's just going to be too many of them. That's the problem. Hossein Kewell, I don't know if I've ever seen you here before. Good billionaire is a contradiction. Exactly, yeah. By their very definition. And it's like not a moral declaration of that billionaire, right? It's the institution of a billionaire. Like, simply, like, forget about the person. Forget about the personality, even. If you took the wealth that those people have and you put it in a corner and just let it be there, that already by itself is harmful to your society. Right? Like, just that act of doing that is harmful to your society. David, good to see you. But then you give it a personality, you give it an intention, right? Like, you're creating a gatekeeper in your society. You're creating a bottleneck in your society where all decisions, whether this person is well-meaning or not, all decisions have to go through them. And the more the wealth is accumulated into smaller and smaller groups, the tighter the bottleneck becomes. So all ideas and all thoughts and all things have to be filtered through the lens of this tiny group. And so just by that process, no judgment of the quality of their judgments or their assessments, just by the fact that that exists, it limits the potential of your society. Because everything is a means test. Everything must be approved by this group. And there's just no way that they can accommodate everything that exists in the society. There's just no way that they can process. They can't listen to every musician. They can't play every video game. They can't look at every product. They can't look at every idea. They just don't have the ability to do it based on how time works. And so the society is bottlenecked, is strangled, by definition, simply because of the existence of billionaires. And what this ultimately creates is a cult of personality. Because it must. This is the person who has power. And so everything is going to gravitate towards them. Everything is going to shift towards them and their interests and what they want and what they see. And the culture is going to manifest themselves. And if they don't give a fuck about the society they live in, then the society will fall apart. And the only way for a billionaire to rectify this situation, that if a billionaire exists and they want to actually live in a decent society, the only way for them to achieve that is to give their money away, is to relinquish this position and this authority and this power, and to distribute it all back into the society, and to create a more equal environment for people to exist in. Because it doesn't take a lot of resources to make a person stable. It really doesn't. Like, most people just need like a home and food, transportation, healthcare, and then if you want to talk about education and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't actually cost that much for that person. It's attainable for most people outside of this tight billionaire environment with its gate-kept resources. That once you make like $1 million, you're good. And anything beyond that, it's just like, what are you even doing? Now you're just fucking around. Yeah. It's like burning money, which is people's time, from Kelwo. Absolutely. Simply Steve, good to see you. Simply Steve writes over on Twitch, Canada needs to move your military to your southern border and get ready in case Trump really is that crazy. That is not the military strategy. We know exactly what Canada's military strategy is. And Canada's military strategy is not to hold the border. If America decides it's going to come into Canada, it'll come in. We know exactly how to defeat America. We have studied America's wars since World War II. We know exactly how to defeat America. Like the Afghanistans defeated America, like the Vietnamese defeated America. We know exactly how to do it. Guerrilla warfare, insurgent fighting. You don't hold borders. You don't hold territory. Right? You become a guerrilla army. And that is our strategy, and that is what we are going to do. So feel free to come on up here, America. You'll lose just like you lost in Vietnam. You'll lose just like you did in Afghanistan. You'll lose just like you did in Ukraine. Right? You've never actually won a war. Right? Like, what was the last war you actually won? Really? So come on up here, blow up some buildings, do some damage, kill some people, the way you do. Right? And then in 10, 15 years, you'll fuck off back to your border. And then you'll look around at what the rest of the world has been doing all that time, and you'll realize, oh, this was a huge fucking mistake. And we'll say, yeah, we know, you dumbasses. You fucking Nazis. Oh yeah, we will. Absolutely we will. No, the American military is pathetic. It is. It's a pathetic force. It really is actually really pathetic. Like, America has been building its military. Like, I talk about this all the time, right? America is mainly administrators at this point, right? Like, they have all these military bases all around the globe, all over the place, that are basically just there to administer trade routes and the seizure of resources on behalf of corporate power. And they don't actually have, like they can't field 1 million people. You know what I mean? Like, there aren't 1 million soldiers ready to, like, put their boots on the ground in Yemen. It just doesn't exist. Right? That all of their fighting men are like video game losers, basically. Just guys piloting drones, essentially. The American military is starting to see more and more and more that like training fighter pilots is actually extremely expensive. And so they're taking a look at things like their aircraft carriers even. Right? They spent billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on these aircraft carriers that now they're looking at and they're seeing, oh, these are actually a huge fucking liability. Why are they a huge fucking liability? Because any nation with a single missile will just shoot it and sink it. And it'll happen instantly. It won't be a problem. It's a huge object. It's impossible to miss. Like broadside that shit with a missile. Down it goes. You don't think we can? Yeah, we can. For sure. So get fucked on your whole aircraft carrier strategy that you've been using to dominate the Middle East. Military recruitment is in decline, absolutely. All of the assessments coming out of the Pentagon say that if they were to do a draft, most Americans would be ineligible due to health issues, primarily. So you don't have the troops. Right, this whole idea that we'll sweep our tanks through. Shut up. What? What men do you have? Like, what are you doing that with? It's just garbage. You're not doing that. Because America's military strategy for the last 40 years has been primarily to use intelligence services to coup governments and incidentally, like, not going to happen in Canada. 0% chance of that shit going down. And to use mercenary groups. And mercenaries are really good for, like, bullying local populations and, like, holding territory, but are cowards by their very nature, and they flee at the first sign of trouble. That's their problem. So if you're relying on mercenary groups, you're probably just losing. And that's basically what America's been doing for the longest time, because America's not actually interested in holding a state and creating state power. They're interested in stealing resources. That's what they're interested in. And what they're going to find, right, if they come up here and start a fight with Canada and we begin this insurgency strategy, right, which we know works. It worked for the Vietnamese. It worked for the Afghanistans. It worked for the Iraqis. It worked for the Palestinians. Like, we know. We know how to win this war. What the Americans are going to find that is way more costly to do this. It's going to cost them way more to engage in that than it would be to just be like, hey, do you want to do free trade? Oh, hey there, buddy. I got some lumber. You want some lumber? I could send down the lumber to your production facilities and you could make some furniture for yourself and put it on the market, eh? What do you think, eh? Like, which one of those two makes more sense? Which one of those two is more logical? Which one of those two do you actually think is going to be more successful for your nation? Engaging in like a 20-year-long grinding insurgency that you'll lose, right? Because you lost against the Vietnamese, you lost against the Ukrainians, or the Russians rather, you lost against the Afghanistans, you lost against the Houthis, you dumbasses. Like, you're losers. You cannot win a war. You think a first-class military that has been looking at its southern border and specifically training for an invasion by you since 1884 is going to lose? Shut the fuck up. Like, if you believe that, then you really are a dim-witted moron who's too stupid to discuss this subject with. You got beat by unequipped Afghanis holding Soviet technology. You got beat by ragtag Muslims with rocket launchers. You got beat by ill-equipped Viet Cong using guerrilla tactics. You don't think you're going to get beat by Canadians that have been specifically preparing their military for what it is you think you're going to do? You come on up here and see what January is like, bud. Yeah, you come up here with your fighting force. You see what it's like in January, February. We're used to it. And guess what? We'll be equipped for it. How are your jackets? You got good boots? How are your socks? You prepared to fight in minus 40 temperature? No, obviously not. You weren't prepared to go to Iraq. You gotta fight with the military you have, not the military you want. You guys think you're ready to come up here and fight in negative 40 temperature? No, you're not. This whole conversation just shows you how embarrassing these military guys are. It's just fucking embarrassing. You are not going to fight a war in Canada and win. Period. Full stop. We are better equipped than anybody else you fought in the last 60 years. We are better trained than anybody else you fought in the last 60 years. We have missile systems. We've got an air force. We've got fighter pilots. We've got trained standing military personnel who have been fighting and training specifically for this. And you've lost to dudes with AK-47s in the desert. You think you're going to roll up on Canada? Losers. You're too stupid. You're just a bunch of dumb monkeys with guns. Stepping into the briar patch. You're going to freeze your balls off, lose a ton of money, lose all your allies, and lose the war, by the way. And when we kick your ass out and send you back down south, we'll lord it over you for the next 100 years. Like we did the last time. Like, David writes, basically the military is just left with snipers, murder drones, and those robots that defuse explosives and nukes, missiles, etc. Basically things that can be remotely launched and operated. Yeah, the whole idea that they're going to like sweep a big like boots on the ground force through, it's just not real. And if they did do that, we literally would just be like, okay, cool, and we just disappear. Right? The way the Viet Cong did. The way the Afghanis did. Like, we're not gonna go like, we're not gonna rock'em sock'em robots with you. We're not morons. Like, it's just an embarrassing conversation. The U.S. military in 2003 paid the Iraqi generals in Baghdad to not fight. Yeah, they've trained their future demise. Well, like, I actually think that, like, people are going to look at aircraft carriers and, like, fighter jets and all that kind of stuff and, like, movies like Top Gun, right? And they're really just going to be like, oh, boy, that was an idea, you know? That was a thought. Because, like, what is that really for? Like, what do you really, who are you fighting with that? Right? Like, really, when you actually think about what that is, like, that's not a proper fighting, like, that's not something that you want to be fielding in a world full of advanced technology. Right? Like, that, an aircraft carrier loaded with fighter jets and all the money you spent training the people to be able to use all that equipment is like the definition of short-term planning. It's like the definition of just like a little boy with a lot of money. Because, like, any advanced power that you go toe-to-toe with is just going to launch a missile at that thing. Right away. First target. Literally We, the American people, declare war. What? Like literally that fast. So all your aircraft carriers are just big fucking targets that will be sunk immediately. Like they will have hypersonic missiles shot at. And they won't come close. They won't go anywhere even remotely near the territory they need to be at in order to be effective. So all of that is just sunk cost. All of that is just wasted resources. You might as well put that in the harbor. Don't even bring it. Because what did they make those for? They made it to suppress the Middle East. That's what they made it for. They made it so that they could fly bomber campaigns and fly drones and fly shit from this aircraft carrier that's off on the coast. They used it to fight people who don't have a standing army, don't have a standing air force, and don't have a standing navy. That's what they're for. They're just an oppression tool. They're not an actual military. And like it's and like in like World War II, it would be very impressive, right? It's a very impressive piece that you would bring out in World War II. Like, it's the kind of thing that you made, and then, like, the World War II veterans looked at it and be like, gosh, I wish we had that during World War II. Right? But now Russia, China, India, Canada, most European nations, we've got missiles. We've got big, bombastic, crazy-ass missiles that can be fired around the globe. Your aircraft carriers get sunk, baby. They're done. And so, like, what's the equipment? What's the American military actually got? Like, what are they bringing to the table to actually be like, we got it, we're doing it? And the answer is fuck it. We can coup Chad. You know, again. Maybe it'll stick this time. JT writes, are they going to go through Windsor or like around Lake Superior and down? June writes, are Canadians willing to fight for it? Yeah. Yeah, we're not, no, we're not getting pushed around by the states. That's not a real thing. Like, there are always cowards and there are always losers, right? They always exist. But like, push comes to shove, people defend their homeland. Yeah, a nation that instigates segregation amongst its people, why wouldn't the recruitment decline? Yeah. DM over on Twitch, good to see you, my man. Good evening, John. President Trump just signed an executive order to implement the U.S. Sovereignty Wealth Fund in order to give extra money to working Americans. Would this measure be a front for a basic income program? I don't know enough to talk on it, honestly. Here, let's do it, DM. You often come in and we go down interesting rabbit holes together. So let's just go down the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. My feeling is that it's just going to be a bailout. Here you go. Reuters. What is the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund? February 3rd, so yesterday, President Donald Trump on Monday signed an executive order ordering the U.S. Treasury and Commerce Departments to create a sovereign wealth fund for the United States. I don't know why I'm saying it like this. I don't know why I'm using that voice. I just want to. So I'm going to continue doing it for fun. What is a sovereign wealth fund? Sovereign wealth funds are investment vehicles owned by countries. Most act as an investment account, or as a development tool, or as a combination of the two. They are designed to be a nest egg, allowing current money to be deployed in a way that benefits future generations. I feel like I need like a projector, you know, like... Unlike pension funds where people withdraw money for their own spending needs, SWFs are supposed to invest for the collective good of a nation. That could mean things like funding construction, airport, school, blah, 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 blah. How is a wealth fund funded? From us. They're going to raise taxes on us, right? Typically, some or all of a country's budget surplus is passed. So they're raising our taxes to put it in this fund, which they're for sure going to use for us. Many funds set up in country, blah, blah, blah. Trump offered, little in the way of detail on Monday about how the U.S. fund would operate or how it would be financed. So they're going to raise our taxes, which they're doing. They're raising Americans' taxes, right? And they're going to put it in this black hole that for sure is not just going to be pilfered, right? For sure. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told the reporters the plan was to monetize assets currently owned by the U.S. government for the American people. Sure. The president has also previously said revenue earned from tariffs on U.S. imports could form the basis for a wealth fund. Yeah, those tariffs that aren't happening. Why set up a wealth fund now? Bessent said the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund would be set up in the next 12 months. While on the election campaign trail in September, Trump proposed setting up a fund which would finance great national endeavors, including infrastructure projects such as highway and airports, manufacturing, and medical research. Yeah, Trump did not give initial size of the target. Yeah, of course. So, look, man, I'm gonna really lay this out, right? They're going to take this money from their citizens through taxation, onerous taxation, making life difficult for everybody. They're going to put it in this fund, and then one day, the fund will disappear. That's all. The fund will just disappear. Right? Like, they're literally just throwing money into a bag right in front of you. Like, there's a big bag with a dollar sign on it. And they're just reaching into your pocket, shoveling money into the bag that's got a dollar sign on it, looking you right in the face while they do it, going, "This is for future generations. We're saving money away for future generations. We don't need to give you any details about what the money's for. Nope. We don't actually we have concepts of a plan. That's what we've got. We've got concepts of a plan." And then one day they'll tighten it up and they'll throw the money bag over their shoulder with the dollar sign on it. And they'll be like, "Well, we saved that away for future generations. So you won't be needing it. Future generations will. So have them call us up when they need it." And then they'll get on a gold-plated private jet, and while they fly away, they'll literally empty all of their toilets right onto your face. And a big sign will come out of the back of the plane saying, "So long, suckers." And you'll see, like, through a window porthole, them all drinking champagne and laughing their heads off after the heist they pulled on you. That's what this is. And you shouldn't believe it's anything else. Don't buy into the idea that these guys are doing. Yeah, oh, they write it with a vapor trail. I like that, XD. That's classy. That's classy. Yeah, my heart to you. My heart goes out to you. Yeah. June writes, "I was under the impression the Canadians aren't very patriotic and barely have a distinct national identity from Americans." Yeah. Canadians don't want to cause us like a fuss. Right? We're friendly. We want to be friendly. Like, we don't want to fight you. Like, we don't want to fight America. We don't want to fight. Right? But you're not coming up here. Like, nope. That's not a real thing. And it truly is not about patriotism or national identity, right? It really isn't about that. It's that we think you're fucking crazy as shit. Like, we've got our version of crazy, and that's fine. We deal with it the best we can and all this. You are not coming up here. You do not get to have a say. Nope. We're not asking you permission. Nope. Not real. Not a real thing. Peanut Butter Beatrice writes, "It's a strange world. Some people get rich and others eat shit and die." Andres Thompson. Yeah. Good Riddance USA writes, "As an American, we really are a malignant force. Beware." Yeah, I mean, I think, like, what we are really seeing, and somebody really articulated, like a random guy on TikTok, it really goes to show you that, like, all participation matters, right? Everything you're contributing to the resistance matters, no matter how small you think it is. Because it was just a very calmly stated, like, not a very long TikTok. It's probably already gone, right? But it's really impacted me. And it's really made me realize, like, yeah, that person was right. That what we are watching is the death throes of an old ideology and an old worldview that is being rejected, and in many ways has been rejected. That the economics are still shaking themselves out, but the old segregationist guard, right? Like, Elon Musk is the child of apartheid. Donald Trump runs on the same slogan that Ronald Reagan ran on, which was harkened back to the Southern strategy done by Nixon. Make America great again. It's all about segregation. And when Obama gets elected in America, this is a thumb in the eye to the segregationists, to the people who want America to be segregated again, make America great again, right? And so this whole conversation, this whole time, has been in so many ways about segregation and about the original sin of American slavery and genocide. And what we are watching, and all the polls and all the demographics and everything shows that it's the case, that it is the case, is that this worldview is dying, literally. The people who were pro-segregation, the people who support the idea of segregation, are dwindling into the minority because they're dying off. And so they're not going out quietly. They're not going out quietly. And that this is the reason why it doesn't matter what Trump and Elon do to their supporters. It doesn't matter what crimes they get indicted of. It doesn't matter what felonies they get. It doesn't matter if they get convictions. It doesn't matter if they go through all this kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, they're pro-segregation. They're pushing through this segregationist agenda. And they're enacting that agenda right in front of our eyes right now. And so it's their last hurrah. It's their last gasp. And that was pushed up against a very tepid and weak neoliberal order that mouthed and cosplayed as being anti-segregationist, but at the end of the day kowtows and bends the knee to segregationist forces, which is corporate power and the billionaire class. And so we're going through like a death throw. And in many cases, quite literally. Just the monster is squalling and screaming. It's thrashing back and forth. And we're witnessing the last thrust and the last gasp and the last impact of segregation. And that the light at the end of the tunnel for all of us is that these people die soon. These people die real soon. Huge numbers of them are going to be dying soon. Like the boomers are dying off. Donald Trump will be dead soon. Real soon. Elon Musk will be dead soon. Like, these people will simply die. And we'll be here to keep trundling on forward. Joe writes, what about their offspring? It's important to note there is a sharp divide, a very sharp divide between boomers and millennials on pretty much every issue. Like, the demographics have shifted. It's completely undeniable. It's completely undeniable. Like, pick an issue. Just pick an issue. And the boomers are on one side and the millennials are on the other side. Like, belief in God. Belief in Jesus. Belief in segregation. Belief in abortion rights. Belief in feminism. And it's not to say that it's like zero, right? It's not to say that it's disappeared completely. But that the numbers are so overwhelmingly in one direction that there's no chance. Like, the conversation will end. And they'll just be so fucking outnumbered that if somebody stands up and gives this minority opinion, we'll just be like, what are you, a fucking loser? Get that shit out of here. You fucking loser. Fuck off. We're trying to build a civil society here. Simply Steve writes, and if you think about if states here try again to leave the union over this, other countries are going to back them up at this time. I mean, we'll see about all that. I am only willing to go so far as to say that there's definitely a breakup coming. Like, you cannot act this way for as long as you've acted and have it not result in major backlashes. And the ultimate backlash are the states breaking up, which I tend to look at that as an inevitability. Like, I've said it again and again and again, and I'll continue saying it. It's the most likely outcome. Like, if you look at history and if you look at the decline of empire, if America manages to stay together through this, that will be the exception. That will be what would be considered extraordinary. That people, historians, everybody would just be like, they would study that and just be like, how did you do it? How did it happen? It would literally be the first time in human history that an empire actually stayed together. Every empire declines and every empire falls apart. It's the most common thing to happen, and America will not be an exception. So the question really is, And so that's as far as I'm willing to go with that. What it looks like, who pulls the trigger, where it goes, all of that. I can only be kind of vague about that. I can only kind of give like, I mean, if I was a betting man, Texas is looking pretty ripe. Like there's lots of wealth in Texas right now. They're very fascist. They're being taken over by billionaires pretty explicitly. Like I've watched straight up speeches where politicians have said in the House in Texas that we are being taken over by billionaires. And it just doesn't take a genius to figure out that, like, yeah, once the federal government gets to a place where they actually do need to raise taxes, these billionaires are going to be like, nope. And that'll be that. Yeah, California. California is another one to look at, for sure. I just think Texas is ahead of everybody else in terms of its what's the word? Why am I blanking on the word? It's always had this idea that, like, Texas is real America. We can break off at any moment. We don't need to, the Lone Star State, yeehaw, right? Cowell writes, Jesus said it'll be very difficult for a billionaire to reach paradise. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, that's a quote. And one of the things I'm really excited for, I'm super excited for it, are all the Christian cults that are going to pop up. There's already some real beautiful ones. Let me see if I can just dig up the one I love the most. Oh shoot, Christian gun cult bullet crown. Maybe that'll do it. Yeah. Democracy needs fearless journalism. These guys. The cult-like church behind a ceremony with AR-15s and bullet crowns explained. A nearby elementary school had to be shut down for safety. This is back in 2018. So we're looking at like 7 years ago. Let's just cut all this. We don't need to see all this. Get to the pictures. What are you doing to me, Fox? Here we go. This is the winner. We have to go to X. Boo. Let's just take a look at these. Right? She's praying to Jesus. Dear Jesus, please let me have with my AR-15 safety in this world from the demons. Look at these losers, man. Look at this shit. Look at this silly bitch shit. My absolute favorite. This is my absolute favorite picture right here. Look at this shit. Doesn't this really just like live in your heart? Doesn't this really just live right here? You're just like, oh. Come on, kids. It's time to go to church. We're gonna head down to the local church here. Don't forget to wear your bullet crowns. Gonna have a ceremony. I love my Jesus. I love my Jesus. and he lives in heaven's golden throne. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit, it's a bit much, you know? And these are just going to become real common. Like, you're going to have organizations like this just popping up all over the place, just being nuts. Hull writes, what's with the neo-Nazi in conjunction with Satanism? Well, there's always been like a real occult thread throughout Nazism, right? Like, and that's a rabbit hole that I rarely go down because it's so, like, it's just so obviously unhinged. Like, it really is just like, oh yeah, like, I can really see how a person with like schizophrenia would just end up down this rabbit hole and just be like, follow the demons, right? Like, and the yeah, well, and like Nazism has a it connects not just to Satanism but also Christianity, right? Like, a lot of these Nazis were Christians. Like, and it's not difficult to see, like, well, you think the Crusaders weren't like proto-Nazis? Like, you think that these guys didn't have like a white superiority complex, going and purging the infidel, right? Like, this sort of, like, the Nazis weren't unique, I think, is what I'm trying to drive towards. They're just the most modern iteration of it. That humanity, like, Jefferson writes, I mean, nothing surprises me after I saw people actually praying for a truck tire, hoping that God would help them take over my country in a coup. Jeez Louise. Like, that's wild, man. Like, that's really wild shit. And the I there's a logic to it, right? No Christian lefties out there. Look, I think that there are people who use Christianity as a method to explore and understand their emotional selves, that we don't really have good tools to discuss our emotions in the West. And I feel like we have really gone down a psychoanalytic rabbit hole, which, and I'm not trying to disparage psychoanalytics. I just think there's this hyper focus on the brain that exists in psychoanalytics, and that we have created a idea of ourselves because of it that I think is unhelpful and backwards. So what I think psychoanalytics has done is it has created within us the idea that we are brains in bodies. That what we are, first and foremost, primarily, what is at the forefront of all consideration when we do any kind of self-analysis is our brain. And that is where our energy is put, and that is where our focus is put, is on the brain. And that many of us consider ourselves brains essentially just being carried around by a organic machine that exists to eat and digest and waste, all to fuel energy for the brain. That it's just the brain. That is the alpha and the omega of all of our thinking. And that if any consideration is put into the body, it's just to be a strong vessel for the brain. And that we are not brains in bodies, that we are bodies with a brain. And that what psychoanalysis, and I'm talking about like guys like Freud and Jung and all those guys, what they've done is they have us hyper focusing. Like if I were to bring up the chart, right, they have us hyper focusing on one aspect of ourselves while ignoring or at least downplaying the other aspects of ourselves that are just as important. And they don't have us seriously considering and seriously thinking and seriously putting energy seriously into exploring our emotional selves within our body. Even though there's extremely clear evidence that emotions are generated by our bodies. That's extraordinarily clear. I don't even feel like I need to bring up examples. So but because we don't actually take that seriously in this culture, it's sort of forced people to find ways to articulate the reality of their existences, which is as emotional beings. And historically and traditionally, that articulation has been through Christianity in the West, has been through Christianity, and through recently, very recently, psychoanalytics. And psychoanalytics, I've just discussed why I think it's a weak field. I think it's highly incomplete, hyper-focused on one very small aspect of itself. And of course, Christianity is also incomplete because it alienates, by its theology, it alienates the person living in the body from the body. There's a lot of shaming in Christian theology of the body. And there's not very much talk about how you're fine. Like your body's fine. Like you're good. You were made to be this way, and you are this way, and here you are. And your emotions live within you. When you feel heartache, you feel it in your heart. That's why it's called heartache. Right? When you feel love, it comes from the heart. If you feel a sense of fear, you feel it in your stomach. Like, emotions live within you. And you can explore them. And you can have talks with them. You can have conversations with them. And you can ask them questions, and they will respond. You can do that. That's a real thing. But if you think you're just a brain, you're never even going to talk to them. You don't respect them. You don't even think they exist. Everything just comes from the brain, in spite of all of the overwhelming evidence that that is false. And so outside of this, using Christianity as like an emotional, kind of traditional emotional expression, I don't think there's any Christians out there. Like there's a few people who I think read their Bible and use it as a way to sort of deal with the existential questions of reality and all of that, and that's fine. But the people who are going around peddling Jesus these days, these aren't Christians. They're just frauds. Right? They're just part of a little culty community where they've latched onto one another using the language of Christianity, but they absolutely despise their Christ. Like, and Hull sort of nails it, right? Jesus is too woke for them. Like, if Jesus Christ showed up in front of these quote unquote Christians, they would crucify him. Like, that's how that would go. Like, they would not like him. He would not be popular. Like, Jesus Christ is going to show up and he's going to go stand up with Jordan Peterson and Russell Brand, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, Jesus, you're here. Oh, thank God. Goodness me. Yeah." Like, Jesus would condemn these people very, very openly and nakedly. Like, he wouldn't like these people. Like, and it's like pretty naked right here with this. But then Jesus said unto the sick, "You better have insurance." Right? He wasn't walking around healing the sick. Right? Then Jesus said unto the stranger, "Are you here legally?" Yeah, he didn't tell the story of the Good Samaritan. That's not a real story that Jesus told. Then Jesus said unto the hungry, "My taxes better not be paying for these loaves and fishes." Right? He didn't give away free food. Right? He didn't create food in order to distribute it to people, the hungry masses. And then Jesus said unto the poor, "This is your own fault." Like, it's not even like Joe writes, "You're right, John. They are hardly Christ-like." Like, it's not even that they aren't Christ-like, right? Like, it's a high bar. He's the Son of God, right? Like, he's supposed to be an unattainable vision, right? It's the point. And you're supposed to look at him and think, okay, I can do better, right? Like, there's no way to attain it. And that's the point. You can't ever get there. But you need to have something to look at to be like, okay, I can strive to get closer. I can be better than the man I was yesterday. Right? I can be better than the man I was yesterday. I can be better than the man I was yesterday. Always moving forward towards an unattainable goal. And that's fine. June writes, "John, some messages in your chat aren't showing up on your screen." Oh, somehow that happened. June writes, "He believed that the modern religion called Christianity had been started." Who are we talking about? June's been writing stuff. Oh yeah, that's why, June. You said the H word. Hitler came from a Catholic family and claimed to be a Catholic, but was very critical in Christianity in public. In private, rather. Isaac writes, "My family keeps telling me to go and live in Cuba if I like communism so much." What an embarrassing, like, it's just like pseudo-genocidal, right? "You like communism so much, we're going to relocate you. Let's forcibly relocate you to be with the communists. That'll show you." I tell them the same reason I don't go to live in Syria, Libya, Haiti. They're being bombed. There is a little part of me that's just like, man, I should go check out Cuba again. Just go wander around Cuba by myself. Get kidnapped, ransomed back. It'll be great. I'm just fucking around. Isaac writes, "My family keeps..." Oh, that was just a double post. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, like, what a clearer... I can't think of a clearer way to say I'm not actually interested in the subject. Right? I'm just interested in maintaining my ignorance. Thank you very much. I'm not actually interested in learning anything. I'm not actually interested in knowing anything. I'm not actually curious about what the subject's about. Right? "Well, if you like communism so much, why don't you go to the straw man I've created in my mind about a communist failure?" That's just... Like, it's just Looney Tunes. June writes, of Adolf, "He believed that the modern religion called Christianity had been distorted by Jewish influence. Christianity was pure and innocent. It was just sitting there all purely and innocently, causing nobody any problems for nobody to know how, and then the Jews showed up." What a weirdo, man. And so the German government promoted a version of pre-Nicene Christianity called positive Christianity. Yeah, that's what you want your government to be doing, is to promoting to promote a religion. That's the point of government. Yeah, and so to continue what we were saying with Joe, right? They don't even come close, not even bother trying to. That's what's important, right? Like they're not actually looking at what Christ said. They're not actually listening to the words of Christ. And when they do listen to the words of Christ, um they call him too woke, right? And like one of the things that always strikes me here, hold on, I got my Bible right here. I promised myself I was actually going to go through the Bible again recently. Let's see if I can remember. Is it 2 Corinthians? Like, I've read this on chat before. No, it must be 1 Corinthians. Yeah, I got to go through this thing again for sure. Yeah. Like, one of the things I've really noticed, and I think I played you that song, and I think the reason why I'm kind of not happy with it is because there's a lot of hatred in that song. You know, for those who have been around the entire time, earlier I sang some music and I played a new song. And there's a lot of hatred in that song. And I'm happy that I wrote it. And I feel better having written it. And I feel good having shown you guys it, because you guys have been with me for a long time, and I sort of trust you with that kind of stuff, I think. But I think what I don't like about that song is that it is just loaded with hate. It just drips with hatred. And I really don't think that's what I want to put into the world through my music. I have another song that is a little bit different, which is Get Fucked. You guys have heard me sing that one before. I didn't want that goddamn job anyway. That one's got a kind of take this job and shove it kind of vibe about it, which I think is softer. But I want my music to and I was talking just last night with a fellow who was talking to me about John Denver and why we both liked John Denver so much, because I think the songs that I played reminded him of John Denver, which is high praise for me, I think. And it really struck me in the conversation with him is that, yeah, all of John Denver's songs are about love, right? Leaving on a Jet Plane is about the bittersweet sorrow of having to leave a loved one behind, if only temporarily. Rocky Mountain High is just literally the love of the Rockies. Country Roads is about returning home from a long journey. So he got you both ways. He got you on the way out and back and on the way in. And then songs like Annie's Song are just nakedly about love. And not the sort of sappy, like what was so interesting about John Denver, like so many songs love songs that you see are like, you know, they're like, I love your eyes and the way you make me feel and all of this. Whereas John Denver, Annie's Song was the closest he really got to being that explicit, but it was it was always a connection to the land and to nature, right? You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk through the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. So he's expressing love about her, but he's not describing her or objectifying her or putting her into, like, she's not the descriptive. That she makes him feel like these larger unexpressed things. And so, And that really got me thinking about this very common. I'm sure if you've ever been to a wedding, you've definitely heard it. And it makes me think about speakers and Christians, people like Peterson, people like Russell Brand, people like these mega guys who sort of mouth the words of Christianity. And this is 1 Corinthians 13. The gift of love. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious, or boastful, or arrogant, or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love. Who's singing about love? A love of life, a love of their community, a love, not the sort of childish boy-girl love. Like, I like being with you. Who's thinking about that even today? And who's trying to manifest that? And so I think for myself, I don't want to be somebody who is speaking out of hatred or a lack of compassion. I want to be speaking from a place of love. And I want to find that love. And I want to bring that love into the world. Yeah. And so I'm glad I wrote that song and I'm glad I shared it with you guys, but I don't think I'll be playing it again. And I think that I'll be striving I'll be striving and reaching towards love. Because that's what the world needs now. I know we're all thinking it. I'll get a strike if I do it. Or I'll get demonetized, rather. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. Hmm. Simply Steve writes, Walmart is closing one of its big hubs in a red state, moving the jobs blue states like Cali. Yeah, like it's an inevitability that eventually these big box stores shut down, right? It's just inevitable. Like as they siphon more and more wealth out of the nation, and as there's just less and less of it, it just won't be profitable. There'll be nobody able to buy the product, and so they'll just shut down. You'll just have these empty, hollow buildings where a Walmart used to be, right? And like you'll have like a couple of states that will come together and be like, okay, we do need these, like we need grocery stores, like we need this stuff, and so they'll figure it out. But you'll also have some states that'll just be full on abandonment. It'll just be how it goes. Joe asks, Russell Brand is MAGA now. I don't know if he's like MAGA, but like he tours with Jordan Peterson. Like he talks to the same people Peterson talks to. And like some of the stuff that Brand has been doing is very obviously like grifter shit. Like creating products to sell to very clearly duped people. Um, Bracelets that are supposed to like align your energies and that kind of stuff. As if the true alignment comes from wearing a piece of metal on your wrist. And it's what's my opinion on college? Says Stomps. I have two. Like, if you want a skill and you want to like gain a technical profession, sure, college, off you go. What colleges and universities should be are a place to develop a human. That I'm actually quite grateful that I had the opportunity to go to university because it was through that process that my fundamentalist Christianity was challenged and that my worldview was heavily challenged. And it was through that process I was able to travel and leave my small town and leave my kind of closed minded fundamentalist conservative Christian starting location, basically, and get out into the world and meet new people and see new things. Um, that's why I think university and college should be absolutely universal and free because it is absolutely to the benefit of the society to have every single person go through the a process of having their worldview challenged and going to new places, going away from their community. I think that we should straight up be funding kids travel. Like I think that we genuinely and quite seriously, I think that we should all pay to, or we should create some kind of fund in order to let kids travel abroad and travel around. Because I think it's just so important to have people meet as many different types of people as they can. Because that, more than anything, that breaks apart prejudice, uh, uh, backwards ideas. It lets people like give people the experience of not knowing how to speak the language in a place. Like give people these experiences of being in somebody else, like culture shock. Let them experience culture shock. Let them have these experiences and then come to see and understand that perhaps these people that they thought poorly of or lesser of, just let them come to the realization that, oh, these people are just people. Like one of the beautiful things about Toronto, and one of the things that has kept drawing me back to it over and over again, is just it's loaded with individual distinct cultures, street by street, really. You got Chinatown and Little India and Little Italy and Greek Town and it's just dotted all over the place. And you just walk down street by street and you're just like, okay, Little India, now you're in Chinatown, and now you're in, and it just, Kevin, good to see you. And it's really difficult to maintain the same quality of racism as exists in like a small white town. Right? So certainly you're going to confront a type of racism in Toronto, certainly. But it's very difficult to reach the same level as you get in like a small white community. And so, and eventually you just come to see like, oh, this is all just people, and they all have these like, and as I get older, I really start to see that like, oh man, like disliking a person based on the color of their skin or the culture that they come from is a lot like disliking a type of food, you know? Like maybe you're just unfamiliar with it. It hasn't been around. Like you eat spicy food. I'm from Manitoba. Spicy food for me is like the hot salsa you buy at the store. Until recently, I think I've gotten there. And like the earth is a big giant garden, and we are its produce. And it produces many different types. And each type comes from its own location and its own place and has its own story and has its own history. And each one is an attempt to strive towards that which is universally true. Like that to me is sort of the beauty of interacting with different cultures and different people from different cultures and experiencing different worldviews, is that you can see that there are different stories and different thoughts, but then as you learn more, you see how similar they actually all are, and you see the parallels that exist between your culture and their culture. And the idea, the fear of the other, the fear of the unknown falls apart and breaks down. And you become more willing to look out into the world not fearfully, but with wonder and curiosity. Westerners are very fearful. Very, very fearful. Very afraid. And it's this sort of childishness that comes from being cloistered away, not needing to actually know anything about the world around them. And like it's like the world has created this litmus test. It's said to us, so when you come out, when you are kind of born and you exist and you come into the world, you're going to have a very nationalist worldview. You're going to have a very tribal worldview. You're going to have that. If you would like to advance, you've got to get above that. You got to get out of that. And the way to get a community and a culture and a society out of its nationalistic worldview and out of its tribal worldview and out of its self-serving worldview is through education. Is to go to places that exist specifically to challenge your worldview. And to have organizations that are well-funded, well-respected, well-run, well-managed, that exist specifically to say to the culture they exist in, we exist to challenge your worldview. And to have everybody in that society respect that institution for it existing. That you think you're so smart, walk into that building. You think you know what's going on, walk into that building. And I don't sugarcoat this. Maybe this is not a great position to hold, but I don't know how else to think on it. I do think that there are some worldviews where it's like, oh yeah, you gotta get to that building, my man. Like if you're walking around as a flat earther, like if a university system could eliminate flat eartherism from the society, that by itself is a major and massive success. Just eliminate flat eartherism. Right? Just eliminate these people who obviously believe something that is patently false. Observably false. Like, falsifiable with a single image. Gamer Jam, good to see you. I wonder how many more trillions they're going to steal from us this year. Yeah, dude. Like it's just a vacuum now, right? Like they're cutting all the strings and they're just hoovering everything up. No, it's not even worth counting anymore. It's just going to be a total disaster. John Hallenberg writes, good to see you by the way, bud. Lack of travel correlates strongly with racism. Yeah. Like I really think that we should be raising a culture that is well educated and well traveled. Instead, what we've done is we've created a education system that's primarily a vocational school. It really exists mainly for people to train themselves to be capitalist workers. It's essentially what they exist for. That's why the humanities are so heavily disrespected. That you can't get a job in the humanities, right? And who gives a fuck if you think you're a better person, right? How much Skrilla did you make? That's what matters. Beatrice writes, forget Year of the Snake, it's the year of the vacuum. Yeah, dude, it's just gonna be like, and what's so funny is like it's being done so nakedly. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because we've been talking about it for so long and we've been observing it for so long, right? That like we've all kind of been on this journey together, coming together every Tuesday, talking about it, having kind of a collective sort of dump session where you guys listen to me talk for like 3 hours straight, which is wild to me. But like, I'm so glad you're here. It certainly helps me, without a doubt. And maybe it's just because we've been doing that for so long that it all just seems so clear. Like it all just seems so clear. Like, I look back on when Trump was ascending to the presidency, and I'll admit that I was holding on to a little bit of hope. Was holding on to a little shred of hope that it wasn't going to be as bad as all that. And now that it is clear that it's going to be as bad as all that, that Trump is actually a very stupid person, that his ambitions are actually very small and pathetic and self-interested, that he doesn't actually care about what the people around him actually do in these positions that he's giving them. Like, he gives so little fucks about what these guys are actually doing that he straight up is allowing one of his donators to cosplay as a government official. Right? Like, that's how little fucks he actually gives about any of this. I've said it for a long time about Trump, and the first round, it wasn't so devastating because it really was just him. But his only ambition is to be the president. That's it. He has no further ambitions. He just wants to be the president. And he wants to do things to make people address him with the respect he feels he is due as the president. Like, if you ask me, that's what this tariff thing was actually all about. At the end of the day. It was him throwing his weight around so that the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of Mexico would have to have a call with him. And that they would have to say to him, Mr. President, what can I do for you? How can we resolve this conflict, Mr. President? And he could hear them, in seriousness and frankness, call him Mr. President. That, at the end of the day, Donald Trump is a very small, petty, pathetic person. Not even truly worthy of our scorn, and more our pity. Because he is going to be a man who will leave that office one day and have a legacy of ashes. He will have done nothing for anyone. And he likely won't care. And the first time through, it wasn't so bad, because it was very startling to everyone, himself included. And there was a lot of, what the fuck is going on? Even from him. And so he had no idea who should do what or what should do who or where should anything be. And so he fundamentally gets nothing done, which is fine by him. Because he really only wanted to be the president. This second time around, in order to get the second shot, he's had to make a whole lot of deals with a whole lot of different characters. And because of the first time around, a lot of different characters came out of the woodwork that weren't there before. And so now the second time around, he's gotten in, and instead of it being this startling thing we all weren't prepared for, it was actually, I feel like this community was very well prepared for it. I feel like we all sort of saw it coming. We saw the writing on the wall. But what it's allowed Trump to do, or what it has done, is now Trump has brought in with him, as he has walked to the White House, a whole bunch of lunatics who he's basically just thrown at departments and told them to do whatever, basically. Um, we have a new commentator. I'm a bit like we were just discussing how this point is actually very stupid because it is. It's just a stupid thing to say. So I don't know if I really want to talk to you, dude. Like if you're that stupid, like why should we care what you think? It's just a very dumb thing to say. Communists believe capitalism is slavery, then you should escape slavery by moving to an actual socialist country. It's like quasi genocidal, like forced relocation. And like, can can you think of a reason why a person wouldn't be able to do what you suggest? Oh man, now you're doubling down. Like, can you think of a reason? Let's just stop, pause for a minute, ponder, let the wheels turn. Can you think of a reason? Because I can think of several that are very logical, very rational, right? Like easy ones. Here, I'll give you one, and then you say one. Okay? Uh, my mom lives here. Your turn. So no, you can't think of one. Are you too stupid? Yeah. I just think you're too stupid to talk to, dude. Like it's just so stupid. Like I don't have enough money to move. My family lives here. My friends live here. Um, I I actually have stuff going on here. Uh, and most importantly, and I know you don't understand this, right? Because you're just too stupid to understand it. But uh, uh, I'm not going to abandon my people in their time of need. Like, I know you don't believe in things called loyalty or friendship or even love, really. Like, I know that those are foreign concepts to you. But that's really what it comes down to. I love my family. I love my friends. I love this land. And I hope one day that it will be free. And I will work where I should work in order to achieve that. That your claim is essentially just selfish self preservation. We should abandon ship for ourselves. So you're just a coward. That's all you are. You're just a coward. And you're not really worth talking to. Oh yeah, and Kelwell wants to bring up, of course, like the imperialist project basically decimates these places. Although I have been thinking about taking a 6-week course in order to get accredited to teach English as a second language, and I could do that through just voice, just video. So I could like do video chats with people in China, for example, or India, and just do it that way. And of course, there's plenty of recent immigrants and people in Canada, I think, that I could do that with. That'd be something worthwhile to do, I think. I have thought about doing that. Joe said, who is this genius? Yeah, I, this is what's so odd to me. It's like these people think that it's some kind of gotcha. Like, that's strange. That's very peculiar. It's very peculiar behavior. Like, it's the same type of people uh, um, who tell black people to go back to their home country. You know, it's the same level of thought, right? Well, if you don't like it here, why do you leave? So just too stupid to talk to. It's too embarrassing, and there's nothing in it for anybody. Like, and at the end of the day, they're just fearful cowards with nothing to offer anyone. It's just, yeah, it's just brain rot. Well, no, I mean, if I wanted to be more generous, it's just childish. That's all. It's just like little kid thinking. Just like a little kid that never grew up and just won't grow up, you know? And like, that's fine. Like, you could be a little kid. No, it's just underdeveloped, is what I'm saying, Anemone. What you're implying is that the brain ever fully formed and now is in decay. What I'm saying is that it never fully formed in the first place. That's what I'm saying. So what I think I'm saying is way worse. Because what they're experiencing is like some kind of affliction, right? They're just like, and then and I should be like, oh no. Oh, it's okay, dementia boy. It's okay, Brandon. Take you to bed. It's all fine. What I'm saying is that they've never grown up. Like, they never actually, like, the brain has yet to actually come into the full force of itself. And I don't know, maybe I am being nicer because it sort of implies that they still got a shot. They still got a chance. And that hopefully an interaction like this will stick with them, and they'll have a moment of like, maybe that was a stupid thing to say. Maybe I shouldn't say such stupid things. Anemone, maybe don't be nice to them. I could just be mean, though. I just read 1 Corinthians 13, Anemone, right? If I speak with the tongues of poets and angels and have not love, I am nothing. Right? Right? That's fine. I mean, I did call him stupid a lot. There is that. Man, I remember like years back when I was doing this, I was really struggling with like, should I be calling these people stupid or not? And I'm really glad that I landed on like, yeah, some people need to just be called stupid. There's no other way of doing it. Like there isn't. There's just no other way of just saying to a person, look, I'm going to end this conversation and it's because you're too stupid. Like, there's just no other way to do it. Like, if you just end the conversation, then they can be like, huh, I got him, huh. So it's like, nah. You're just so undeveloped and so incapable of communicating properly that you're not worth talking to. It's really the truth. Like, if you don't understand like basic things, I just cannot help you. And it really is just because you're too stupid. That's all. And that's their burden. Like, that's their journey, right? I just got to be a visitor in their life for just like a little flash in the pan. They got to go off and continue being this way. And that's their journey. And then the hope is that they'll just keep encountering this. They'll just keep encountering people who are just like, stupid idiot. Stop being so stupid. What are you doing? Like, stop being such a dumbass. And eventually they'll go, maybe I don't want to be so stupid, Maybe I should stop saying stupid things. Anemone says, why are we still sugarcoating it? Look how far that's gone. Look, Anemone, I called him stupid and banned him. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? What more could I have done? And I got an article right in front of me. I think that's like kind of case in point. Like, we are experiencing like a decaying education system. Anemone, it's just like, you were soft in my opinion. Maybe I am soft, Anemone. Maybe I'm soft. I'm a soft, beautiful person who just wants the world to love. I just want love in the world. Is that so bad to want love in the world? Huh? Although there is a little part of me that's just like, yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, fuck yeah. Just rock and roll. I don't know. You know what I think it is, actually, Anemone? Like, straight up. I just don't have the chutzpah in me anymore to get worked up about it. Like really, like, I'm not offended by their stupidity, right? It doesn't hurt my feelings. I actually think, like, I actually have quite a lot of pity for those people. And that's really the truth. Like, I just don't have it in me to be like, oh, you're on those types of people. Because, like, I'm just so aware of the burden that they're carrying. Right? They're carrying this enormous burden. And the burden is the weight of their own stupidity. And it's like that John Cleese phrase, right? Like, the problem with very stupid people is that they're so stupid they can't possibly realize how stupid they are. And that stupidity, like, the recognition of it, the coming to terms with it, the realization of it, of just, oh, like, to me, that's like a truly first step to total enlightenment. Just like a first step of just like, oh, I'm stupid. Like, oh no, like, I actually, and to me, again, we rotate that back to the education conversation. That's a really good reason to get kids into university and to get kids into this, and not to get a job, right? Not to become vocational, but to just be confronted in their worldview, and to realize that, oh yeah, there's so much I don't know, and I'm actually like on the back foot. And because, like, the worst part about interacting with someone who is as stupid as this is their arrogance and confidence in their stupidity. Right? Like, these things are said as if they are like these haughty checkmate phrases, when they're just so dumb. They're just so stupid. And anybody with any intelligence in their head would never say such a thing. But and it's just this it's just this onerous burden. And so, I don't know. I think I do have to inform them that they are stupid, but I don't need to be rude. But that's really where I come down on it, right? Like, I think those types of people, I'm just like, okay, you're too stupid to talk to. We're just gonna move on. And I don't know. I don't know that being rude is better. And I don't really want to be, right? I think that just puts onus and energy and takes it from me. And instead of it me, like, how to say this accurately, I'm really trying to land on it. It's like, I'm not trying to dismiss them. I would really prefer it if a person came in here, a new person came in here and we had a conversation, even an antagonistic one, right? If somebody came in here and they had some antagonistic things to say, I would prefer that, right? As long as it was said with this understanding of like, uh, uh, if it was challenging, maybe that's the better way of saying it, challenging, because that allows me to explore the space for myself as well. But when a person comes in and they've just got nothing, right? And it's just embarrassing. Like, I don't want to dismiss them. I don't want to dismiss somebody. So I just think that I need to inform them of why they're being banned, too stupid to talk to, and move on. Anyway. I feel like I'm spending a lot of time on this. Getting a little sleepy. We're getting to the end of the stream. Kuel said, still, if I knew the language of North Korea, I would go there if it was possible, if they accept me as a citizen. Oh yeah, I think I would definitely visit China. I feel like that's sort of on my bucket list, is to at least visit China and to spend some time in China. That's sort of ultimately why I would want to pursue teaching language as a teaching English as a second language, so that I could go abroad and sort of live in a different culture and teach English in that culture. I think that would be really lovely. And China is like right at the top of the list for me, because it's I just would like to live in a place that was trying to solve problems. You know? Like I would feel so much better about Canada and the United States and much of Europe if they were even trying to solve problems. You know? Like, I would rather live in a place that was trying to solve problems and failing than live in a place that wasn't trying at all. Because this is like, it's just kind of embarrassing at this point, you know? Like, I'm basically just going to tool around, doing my best, plugging along, making a little bit of money as I can, and I'm just going to watch this place decay as I decay, and then I'll die. And that's what this is going to be. And I think I'm going to have a nice time doing it. I'm not going to cry while I do it. I'll definitely cry, but I'm not going to. It'll be interesting watching other people realize it, I think. That's really going to be interesting. Is watching other people come to terms with how their society has failed and how Western civilization has died and how the culture has become irrelevant and nothing and pointless. That's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Like going out to open mic nights and talking to fellow artists and seeing people who are pursuing this sort of madness, the madness of artistry, right? And watching as they come to terms and as they come to grips and as they come to the recognition and the realization that, you know, Canada doesn't really exist. America doesn't really exist. And soon these ideas will be seen as onerous and burdensome, and eventually they'll start to break apart. And it'll be interesting to watch other people go through that experience. Because I'm like at peace with that, you know? Like, I'm here with it. Like, if Alberta suddenly goes like, we're going it alone, I'd be like, okay. Yeah. If British Columbia is finally just like, yeah, you know what, this federal government's not really helping us out. If Texas is finally like, Lone Star State, yeehaw, let's go. I'll be like, yep. And watching everybody else react to it is gonna be what's interesting. John. Pity is well placed, and Ebony may have been struck by lightning at some point. Well, she is a firecracker, man. I'm arrogant because I'm communist. Yeah, I mean, I feel your frustration for sure. Like, I feel like you're catching me on a night where I'm like more at peace with a lot of this stuff. I don't feel like I'm in a depression. I don't feel like I'm invested as much, but I definitely understand. Like, I too wish things were not this way. I too wish that there was any institution in my country that was at all interested in tackling problems. Like, I wish that we were building a high-speed rail. I wish that we were building an electric car grid. I wish that we had academies that were actually researching and developing interesting and new ideas and technologies. I wish that there was a place that we could send our children to where they could freely and openly express their opinions without this burden of financialization saddled upon them. I wish that healthcare was free and open, and that food was available for everyone, that housing was easy to secure. I wish that all of these things were true, and they could be true, and they should be true. We could do it. I think many of these things we could do, and we could do almost immediately. That what is in our way are these worthless capitalists who were just watching be a bunch of total fucking morons and just absolute asshats and dimwits and losers. And they're just gonna fall all over themselves and just collapse in their own bullshit. And it's just so pathetic to watch. New CI drone pilot writes, you don't need to speak another language to go do that. Yes, of course. University degree and 120-hour TEFL course is the only real requirements. Any degree doesn't have to be language or teaching. Yes, and I have a university degree. That's what I'm saying, is that I could just put in the 120-hour TEFL course, which is here in Toronto. It'd be easy to do. There is like a money thing. I do have other pursuits and other ideas that I'm sort of looking at right now, and so I don't know. I don't want to overwhelm myself, right? I don't want to overburden myself and put myself in a position where I feel I don't want to sacrifice. I don't want to sacrifice something. I want to get myself set up and I want to feel secure before I take the plunge on that. So perhaps its time will come. Kewell says, you need to have lack of empathy to like capitalism. That's the truth. I also, or just like total ignorance, right? Ignorance is bliss, right? That you can just be unaware, right? Like, you just be living your life believing that like groceries just manifest onto store shelves, not really knowing where anything comes from, not really understanding how these logistics chains were set up. how anything actually worked or how anything got created. Like that, there's a reason why the Trump administration is dismantling the Department of Education, right? There's a reason why education is constantly under attack, because capitalists understand, like, they don't want an educated public. They don't want people to actually be able to put these a line between these dots. Like, they don't want that. They want people to be dumb. And of course, it's like that idea by itself is also very dumb, because the major problem the major problem that capitalist countries are going to face in the not too distant future is that they're simply not going to be able to get advanced educated citizens in high-tech roles, right? They're not going to have enough well-educated people to actually do the jobs that an advanced society require. And right now their solution is to import cheap labor from abroad, right? That oh, you got educated at the University of Delhi and then you can come here and work, blah 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 blah. But that's not going to last, right? It's not going to be too much longer until China is going to be a better deal, until staying in India is going to be a better deal, especially as the capitalists put America into retrograde, and especially as it's made clear to people who are non-white that they're not welcome. And so these capitalist countries are essentially going to be left with dominion over dimwits, more or less. And the society will just steadily fall further and further and further and further and further and further behind. Because the capitalists are not going to educate people to the point where they come to understand their own society. Like, they're just not going to do that. That it kind of goes back to that John Milton phrase in Paradise Lost, said by Lucifer Morningstar himself, that it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. And they're going to create hell. That's their objective. That they want us poor, confused, discombobulated, alienated from one another, isolated, and afraid. Because that way we'll just keep working. And I say we stop. That we do as little as possible. That you're not going to get the house anyway. You're not going to get the nice Bugatti. Like, it's not for us anymore. It's over. So just be happy with what you've got. Eke out a meager living. Enjoy what you can to the best of your ability. And don't die quietly. And with that, we've reached the end of this stream. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.